best time of the week. It's the greatest time of the year. It's the most wonderful time of your entire goddamn life. I mean, you should just be dropping to your knees in front of your iPod and praising the fact the Rage Select podcast is back. And we have a brand new challenger on the podcast, or I think you've not been on the podcast before, right?
Wait, which podcast is this?
This is the Rage Select podcast.
Oh shit, I'm on the wrong show. I need to go.
Okay, you didn't realize you start walking into houses.
I thought I was recording Geek Bombast.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Sitton from Geek Bombast, Super Awesome Video Game Show, The Dojo, Rage Select, and just an all-around nice guy with significantly less hair than before. You shouldn't let them see that. Rage Select fans are very pro facial and top of your head hair.
Yeah, they're gonna freak when we would do a video where I'm on camera.
Yep, the next one, folks. He walked in the other day, and it's like I did a little bit of a double take, even though you've been telling me for months, right? That,
and I told you like the on Sunday streaming.
Yeah, you told me like the day before you were gonna do it. You're like, hey, next time you see me, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's right. He said that. Okay.
No, don't trust me. I've been getting that all week since I shaved.
It's like, okay, so the thing is that you had long hair and a long beard.
Yes.
And now you have short hair and no beard.
Correct.
So it's like my brain keeps telling me, who is that? Where is John?
Yeah.
Attack that. And let's go find the pod that the pod person put John into.
Well, I think what's the most hilarious is like people walked up to me the first day that I walked into work, and they're like, "Oh, you got a haircut, nice!" And they walk around, and then like 30 minutes later, they come back. Did you also shave? You had a beard, right? Did you have a beard? Like, I'm confused by the fact that you did two things at once.
Yep. As a person who wears glasses, I actually get that quite a bit. I mean, when you take off your glasses, like we always, there's that trope about how dumb everybody is for not knowing that Superman is Clark Kent when all he does is put on a pair of glasses. I've actually worked with some inattentive motherfuckers who okay, probably not Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane, right?
Yeah.
But like the dude who who runs the sports section of the Daily Planet, he probably doesn't know. He doesn't look at fucking Clark Kent. And
that's not all he does. He slouches a little. Also, he slicks his hair back when he's Clark Kent.
Sure.
And he lets it go all forward and willy-nilly when it's Superman.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that it's not entirely outside of the realm of possible. Okay. Lois Lane has no goddamn excuse. She's an investigative reporter, like, seriously, and she works all the time with Clark Kent and gets carried around, like, right up in the face of Superman.
True.
Something's going on there, obviously, right? But for, just the janitor at the Daily Planet, I can see it. Well, John, this is the time of the show when we talk about what we've been doing, and for those people who don't listen to the podcast or my voice has just become like static white noise to them, so it's like a soothing Pavlovian trigger that just makes them smell apple pie and Taco Bell. I have been doing nothing but recording videos.
I know
all the live long goddamn day.
I feel like I've been over here almost half the week.
Yep. And actually, I think you have been over here half the week.
At least 3 days out of the week.
This is Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
So 3 out of the 5 days this week.
Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Yeah. No, that's about that checks out. But let's see. In your spare time, I don't know. Do you have any spare time?
I do.
What have you been doing?
Strangely,
in that spare time, you playing anything? Watch anything?
After I beat Sunset Overdrive, which I did a few weeks back, I started
review forthcoming.
I did start recently playing Middle Earth: Shadow of Mordor because I've had it and I've never played it.
We don't sign the contracts here. You can call it Lord of the Rings: Shadow of Mordor.
I'm just giving it the title, man.
Yeah.
I don't.
That was one of the things in that crazy contract they made him sign.
Was it?
Was don't call it Lord of the Rings. Call it Middle Earth: Shadow of Mordor.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, like it had this very weird stipulation about what you're supposed to call it.
That's weird.
And how are you finding it? You're playing it on the Xbox One.
Okay. Xbox One.
Okay.
So I'm playing it on that. I'm liking it so far.
You didn't decide to opt into the just totally screwed up Xbox 360 no Nemesis system version?
My Xbox 360 doesn't work anymore.
Or PlayStation 3 or Speak and Spell. I don't know what platforms they put it out on these days. Linux for your
I don't
watch.
play a lot of PlayStation 3. It's just kind of ever since Xbox One has a Blu-ray player, I kind of shown my PS3 less love.
Yep.
But at some point I'll get a PS4 and I'll try to spread my time equally between Xbox and Sony.
I think this year I've played like 2 Xbox 360 games.
Yeah.
And one of them was Bayonetta when I just couldn't stand it before Bayonetta was getting ready to come out. And the other one is Assassin's Creed Rogue, which will be at some point on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a real next-gen kind of year.
Yeah.
You know,
it has. And, I've been... so there's that, and then every now and then I'll play, I play a lot of... Because we do the Super Awesome Video Game Show, I play a lot of early access games, try and test them out, see what's ready for us to play, see what's not ever going to be ready for us to play.
What is the worst early access game you've played that you were just like, nope, for Super Awesome Video Game Show?
Well, the most recent was a game that just recently came out called StarMade, I think.
Okay.
It's basically, they pitch it as Minecraft in space.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. It's a voxel-based game, and you create spaceships and stuff like that. That's cool. And I pulled it up, and the UI for this game is so ungodly horrible with neon lights and stuff just covering the screen. Like, I can barely see the game. And I'm just like, no, I'm not playing this. I'm not. No, I'm turning this off now.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to playing Hands of Fate.
There you go. So what did you think of? I mean, or how far through Shadow of Mordor are you?
I'm about. Well, I just got to the second map.
Okay.
So I don't know how far that is into the game.
About halfway.
Yeah. It kind of feels like it should be earlier in the game because I feel like I haven't got to do half the stuff that you're supposed to be, like, that people tout as being the awesome thing to do in the game.
Yeah, that's one of the things. That's one of the things that kind of dragged that game down. But you're enjoying it?
I'm liking it. Yeah. No, I'm liking it. I would have stopped playing it probably by now if I wasn't enjoying it.
Okay.
I finally got a point to the combat where I can be surrounded by like 30 guys and be attacked by from multiple angles and still keep my own.
Yeah.
And like where I'm not like, oh shit, I should be running, or oh shit, I'm about to die. It's just like, okay, parry this, jump over this guy, do this move. Okay, do the finisher. All right, 100 and something combo later, like I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, now everything's coming together.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's see. Shadow of Mordor, early access. Anything else? Anything noteworthy? Have you robbed anybody? Have you?
I don't think so.
At gunpoint, have you stopped any robberies? I mean, I don't know
No.
which side of the law.
I go to
identify as villain or hero?
Dude,
I don't know.
I'm either at work, I'm here recording with you, or I'm at home playing some sort of video game.
Okay.
I'm in. I think me and my girlfriend are gonna have like a day off upcoming soon, and we're just like, we were talking about it a little bit before I came over here to record this, that we're like, let's have a kung fu movie night.
There you go.
And they were like, hey, I'm off Sunday, you're off Sunday. What if Sunday we just stay home and just watch kung fu movies from when we wake up to all the way until we go to sleep?
That sounds great.
And so it's just like, yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
I made a pretty bad mistake this week, John.
Okay.
I'm about call it 8 to 12 hours into Dragon Age, so no way into Dragon Age, like I'm kind of just really still at the very beginning, like I just unlocked.
Here's another question.
Yes.
Before doing this 8 to 10 hours into Dragon Age,
right,
how many times did you restart it?
12.
Okay.
Yeah. I started the game once with every single different character class and played through at least the tutorial and some parts of the beginning map before I settled on Rogue. And then after I'd done that, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 or 6 different character classes, then I restarted the game like another 6 to 10 times to make sure that my character's face didn't look like some kind of crazy mutant train wreck. Because whenever we get around, I'm going to try to get a review for Dragon Age in before. I got to finish it before I can really honestly judge what my game of the year is. Who the fuck puts a character creation screen in an area with green light and mist? Like, you could just totally get your character. You're like, all right, it's perfect. I got it all the way I want it to. And it seems like as soon as that character steps out into the world, they just look shitty. And I had to get to the point where I just picked one of the stock faces, switched some of the stuff around, didn't change any of the sliders, like didn't adjust how far apart the eyes were, because it's fine. It's perfect as is. In fact, I was talking with Jason a few weeks ago, and he was like, yeah, I'm about 8 hours in. My character is just fugly bad looking. And I'm like, restart. He's like, but I'm 8 hours in. I'm like, no, but the game's like 600 hours long. You're only 8 hours in. For the love of God, please restart the game. But no, I'm playing it. But then yesterday I got Persona Q installed on my 3DS.
No.
And I'm not here to make a full-on value judgment, but I think I like Persona. I like at least the first 4 hours of Persona Q more than I like the first 8 hours of Dragon Age Inquisition. Like, it's just a tighter RPG system, and have you ever played any of the Persona games?
I have not played any of the Persona games.
Man, they have such a tightly put together kind of combat system, and they've done some really interesting things in that Persona Q. I don't think I'm going to have time. I think it's going to be like last year. Once we got done front loading, I just played Persona 4 Golden, like beginning to end. I think this year, after everything gets said and done, after all the games get played and the children are nestled all snug in their beds, I'm going to be playing Persona Q, just constantly, because that game is good. It's also interesting because it asks you at the beginning of the game whether you want to be the protagonist from Persona 4 or from Persona 3. And I chose the one for Persona 4, and the first 4 or 5 hours so far, the first dungeon in the first game, and the setting and the characters and everything in the game has been entirely Persona 4. So I have to assume that if you started with Persona 3, that whole beginning part of the game is nothing but Persona 3, which is crazy. That's just insanity. But speaking of insanity, we have a ton today. We do. We have more news. Usually I'm like, hey, what about those ET cartridges? Did they figure out? Okay, fine. Last week we had a news story that was about a Kickstarter for an invention that pumps blood out of you every time you get shot in a first-person shooter.
That's weird.
Because I had to find stuff. But last week we had not only... And I wasn't even aware that this was a thing. The first annual Video Game Awards,
because Spike TV killed the VGAs.
And I got to. Did you watch the Video Game Awards, John?
No.
Okay, neither did I. Because I've been so over the years. I mean, to me, they're just a vehicle for new trailers and for Doritos to try to sell you whatever shit dumb new who. I know it's Lay's, not Doritos, but who the fuck makes cappuccino flavored fucking potato? Fuck you. Fuck the potatoes. Why are you going to make potatoes taste like coffee? Anyway, I didn't watch it, but a shit ton of trailers came out. And then last weekend was the Sony PlayStation 2014 experience in Las Vegas. And so there was another metric shit ton of trailers that came out of there.
They announced some shit.
They did.
And when I say shit, I don't mean like shit in a negative term. I mean they announced a lot of stuff.
Now, I watched some of the did you watch some of the live stream?
I did not watch. I didn't even know there was a live stream.
I woke up on Saturday. I saw what was going on. I was like, quick, put it up. Here's a page.
I literally just I was playing Shadow of Mordor all day, and then I went to go do something. I was browsing Facebook, and I saw that you had posted that. I was like, oh, there was a live stream today.
Yeah, and on Sunday for 8 hours we were streaming. But what was weird is that I thought it was a really good example of why a lot of times I don't think that a single company should have a trade show, should have an event like that. Because when I was watching the live stream, they had the guy from Hello Games talking about No Man's Sky for about 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and he didn't say anything. Like, the guy doesn't want to give anything away about his game, and I'm like, why are you doing an interview then? Like, they're just they bring these developers up, and then they just lob them the slowest, biggest beach ball questions of all time. Like, so what's fun about your game, buddy? And then the person proceeds to talk for 20 minutes. And then they had things like they had these panels that would go on for 30 minutes to an hour that was just like, hey, here's a person showing you what the early build of Little Big Planet looked like, or here's what Kratos' original concept art was. Did you know Kratos had a dog originally?
No, I didn't know that at all.
Apparently he was going to have a dog in some of the early builds. I kind of want to see Kratos' dog now, but it's kind of okay. I mean, but not the sort of rapid fire, just announcement after announcement thing that you would expect from E3 or TGS or something like that. But we have all of those trailers. We're going to try to get through all of them. I'm going to make a concerted effort. We might have to cut some emails this week, and if we do, I apologize. If you sent one in, send it in to mail@rageselect.com next week. But before we get started on those trailers, there is another news story that came through that I find wholly distressing, John.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. And that is that there was a petition that was started in Australia to get Grand Theft Auto 5 taken off of store shelves. And basically, I don't have the petition up in front of me. I mean, maybe I can pull it up, but I'm gonna paraphrase here. That wait here. I think I got the petition. Is this it? Boop. It was very much okay. The name of the Change.org position was Target Withdraw Grand Theft Auto 5. This sickening game encourages players to commit sexual violence and kill women. It's a game that encourages players to murder women for entertainment. The incentive is to commit sexual violence against women and then abuse or kill them to proceed to get health points. And now Target are stocking it and promoting it for your Christmas stocking. This goes on and on. It was signed by enough people that the folks in Target that run Target in Australia basically decided to take Grand Theft Auto 5 off the shelves. As an addendum, Kmart also followed suit.
Yeah.
With I don't know if there was a second Change.org petition that they used or whether it was just they're owned by the same company. I don't know the specifics on that. But I find this highly troubling, John.
Yeah. For
a lot of reasons. But the biggest is just that, man, I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade or anything, but we did this once upon a time. I mean, I don't know how old the people listening to this show are, but there was a time when Jack Thompson was all up Fox News all day, every day about how the violence of Grand Theft Auto 3 San Andreas was going to turn our youth into rapey murder crazy people, and that motherfucker wanted that shit off the shelves. He wanted Mortal Kombat out of arcades. He wanted basically video game violence. Any game that projected video game or that depicted video game violence to kind of just be taken off the shelves and not done anymore. We had all that stuff about what was it, Leland Yee in California, trying to get the stuff taken out of anything with an M rating taken out of like GameStops. There was a lot of pushes there for a while about making it like a crime if you're an employee, like making it an actual legitimate crime if you're an employee at a game store to sell an M-rated game to a minor. Yeah. A lot of that stuff. I mean, when Mass Effect 1 and 2, or was it 1 came out, and Fox News just lost their shit about that, and Dragon Age, I guess, about the fact that there was the romance options there. Variety of different places. I mean, Kevin Barrett actually went on cable TV a couple times to basically argue against the point of violence in video games equates violence in real life. And as a reasonably non-murder-oriented adult, I like the ability to choose whether I can engage in games that feature protagonists of a somewhat morally questionable nature, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just rather make that this is Australia, and it's not here. It's just a precedent that I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on because I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it is. You make the point of, didn't we go through this? It's like, yeah, we here in the United States went through that. Mm-hmm. Australia hasn't. Now, the fact that it happened, is distressing. On any level. I mean, but Australia also has had a history of banning or not allowing certain games of an M rating or to be sold.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, from what I remember, it's kind of the same thing that Britain did with horror movies, I think it was, back in like the 80s or whatever, where they were refused to classify it, and so then it couldn't legally be released because everything that you release has to have a classification from the government. So by refusing to put a classification on those things, I think that's how it went down. And I know Australia spent a long time trying to get to a point where they can put M-rated games in their stores. So I know that Australia has had a much more uphill battle than we have, but as much as I'm a fan of just reasonable debate when it comes to this sort of stuff, I think that unless somebody is able to make some kind of direct, I don't know. I think that the implication that Grand Theft Auto is corrupting people, again, has a lot of parallels with the video nasties in the UK, with the Satanic Panic here in the 80s, where rock and roll music turning the kids into satanic killers, right?
Yeah, it's rock and roll one minute, video games the next.
And you go back to the early 80s,
hip-hop?
late 70s. Well, you got hip hop, definitely. This is the point I always bring up, and I do it a lot because I think that it's something that needs reinforcing, is that this attitude about how these things are affecting youth and culture is a thing that I feel gets latched onto for different mediums. D&D was one of them.
D&D is evil.
Go talk to a fundamentalist Christian about Harry Potter. They'll tell you the same thing about Harry Potter, right? It's satanic. It glorifies magic and worshiping the devil, and it's a thing that kids should not be into. It's corrupting children, right?
Yeah.
And I think that until you can produce like a really solid, serious series, that was alliteration right there.
Yeah, I was actually impressed.
Of studies, there's another one, that show a very direct correlation between what people are consuming in video games and what their behavior is like in real life, that can make a direct causal relationship. That if you can do that, maybe, right? If we're living in some 90s sci-fi movie where we all put on the Oculus Rift and then when you get done you turn into like a murder zombie or something, I could see that movie. Okay, fine. If that's what's going to happen, great. But so far, at least from my perspective, I don't see that many of these. I don't see that much of this. I don't see much of a direct correlation between playing a video game and going out and legitimately hurting other people.
Yeah. No, I agree with you completely.
It may make you a dick online.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the whole premise of this website, right?
Yeah.
But so I want to keep a real close eye on this. I don't know if we have any Australian listeners, but if we do, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 5, I think it's a hell of a game. I know, actually, you don't really even care for it, right?
I'm not a big fan of it, but not from a gameplay standpoint. I actually think the gameplay and everything is nice, but I don't like the character of I can't think of his name right
Trevor.
now. Trevor.
Yep.
I like his character makes me like just I can't stand his character.
Yep.
Like to the point it was a game breaker for me. Like it was like I got to his character and I was just like, oh, this character's just mean.
Yep.
To everything.
Yeah.
Obviously, except apparently women, as you get later on in the story. But even then, still kind of mean.
He's got some. He's a weird
morals.
character. He's a
and
weird
it's just
character.
like, and I get what he is. He's the game player's id. He's the character that is what all people who play Grand Theft Auto go and do.
Right.
And to me, but just seeing that brought in front of me and pushed in my face and done and some very mean things done to some characters I liked from Lost and the Damned, I went, oh no, this game made me sick. I'm done with it. Took it out. Took it back to the rental store that I rented it from.
Yeah.
And was just like, nope, I don't need to play that anymore.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I've talked to numerous people over the years, and this is a little bit of a spoiler for those of you who haven't played Grand Theft Auto 5, not a huge one. But there's a scene with Trevor where the point of it, the mission is to torture this guy for information.
Yeah.
And you walk around the room, pick up various implements of torture, and go to work on that guy. Made my stomach turn a little bit. I've known some people who just stopped playing the game at that point and we're like, I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to continue through the game. The ending may be fantastic, but I'm not going to continue playing because I'm not going to do that. I find it offensive.
Yeah, it's like I didn't want to be that character.
Right. And hey, that's perfectly understandable. Finally, before we get off of before we leave this particular story, I think that what's this guy, Carl Slatoff, Take-Two president, had a really good quote about this that I'd like to read. It's one thing for someone to not want to buy a piece of content, which is completely understandable, and that's really the solution. If you don't like it and it's offensive to you, then don't buy it. But for a person or a group of people to try and make that decision for millions of people, we have 34 million people who bought Grand Theft Auto, and if these folks had their way, none of those people would be able to buy Grand Theft Auto. And that really flies in the face of everything that free society is based on. It's a freedom of expression, and to try to squelch that is a dangerous and slippery slope to go down. And I couldn't agree more, and I think that's very well worded.
Yeah, it is very well worded.
All right, well, enough of that heavy stuff. Next, we've got crazy game trailers. We got a lot of trailers, some for things that we've seen.
So many trailers.
So let's get the show on the road because we're already. I don't know why I expected all that to fit into 15 minutes, but we're a little bit over time already. All right, here we go. Oh, no, wait, before we start, it's worth just briefly telling people what the Game of the Year awards were, or what the Video Game Awards winners were. So I'm just going to run down this list real fast. Game of the Year, Dragon Age Inquisition. And I'm not going to do this for every category, but it was up against Bayonetta 2, Dark Souls 2, Hearthstone, and Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor.
Wow, Hearthstone feels out of place in that list.
Yeah, I really don't think Hearthstone belongs on that. I'm not saying it's a bad game.
I feel like that's they're like, whoa, we need a game that's kind of the underdog, the game that no one would expect.
Right. The come from behind winner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so best mobile / handheld winner also is Hearthstone, which honestly I disagree with because both Smash Brothers 3DS, Bravely Default, and Threes, in my opinion, are better. Of course, that would be kind of a weird coup, right? If Threes was the best game of the year. Developer of the year, Nintendo. Best fighting game, Super Smash Brothers for Wii U. Best sports / racing game, Mario Kart 8. Best shooter, Far Cry 4. Games for Change, Valiant Hearts: The Great War. Best narrative, Valiant Hearts. Best independent game, Shovel Knight. And best score / soundtrack, Destiny, Marty O'Donnell. Which I still can't believe that when we did our review for Destiny that I forgot to say how goddamn good, no matter what other problems I have with Destiny, score is fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great score.
Best action adventure, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Best role-playing game, Dragon Age Inquisition. Best family game, Mario Kart 8. Best online experience, Destiny. Best remaster. Do we actually have to be doing this?
Here's the thing.
Days?
They had enough remasters to fill that one.
Oh, my God. Okay, and the nominees were Grand Theft Auto 5, Halo Master Chief, Pokemon, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, The Last of Us and Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, and GTA 5. Got it. I'm kind of surprised that you didn't see, Sleeping Dogs Metro Redo in there.
Yeah.
I'm also kind of surprised. Man, everybody loves Last of Us so much. I'm kind of surprised Last of Us didn't actually get that. The way that video games awards go and the way that people love The Last of Us, I'm like, they would create a category just to give another award this year to The Last of Us. Esports Team of the Year, Ninjas in Pajamas. Okay, whatever. Best fan creation, Twitch Plays Pokemon. Most anticipated game, Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt. Come the fuck on, Video Game Awards. Most anticipated game?
Hey, that was voted on by fans.
That's horseshit. No, what is the point of what's the game you're most looking forward to next year? That's not an award.
They have that every year, though. Or I know this is the first year of the Game Awards.
That's horseshit.
But, you know.
No, it's garbage. That's garbage.
Okay.
The Academy Awards don't have, hey, what's the movie you're looking forward to most next year? And the Grammys don't have, hey, whose next album are you interested in? Come on, video games. Trending Gamer, Total Biscuit. Esports Player of the Year, Matt Nadishathag. And that's it. So, yep. All right. So let's enough of that. Let's get to these trailers. That's the only reason I feel like anybody ever watched the Spike VGAs in the first place.
Yeah,
right?
no, it totally is.
Okay. So first up, I'm just going to go down. This is a list that's actually on Engadget, just FYI. And then I'm going to use our trailer roundup for the Sony stuff. So first up, and we're going to do these pretty quickly, Tacoma, the new game from the Fulbright Company, the makers of Gone Home. So some kind of walking around in a space station, picking up notes about your lesbian sister in a space station. Is that
probably?
That what it is?
Something like that. I saw a wash closet.
Water closet.
Water closet. Whatever.
The WC.
Yeah, the WC, the water closet.
Yep.
So maybe it has to do with bathrooms.
That's
in
right.
Space.
It's basically a door opens. This lady goes into a space station. It's welcome
and then
to
they
Tacoma.
give the title.
Yep. And there's a voiceover where she's like, "All right, what's going on over here?" It almost makes me think that it would be hilarious if the end of if they patched in an extended ending like Portal style into Gone Home where she gets taken up into space, Hitchhiker style, and it's just the same character, but now she's in a space station. Next up, the Dying Light story trailer, which honestly got me more psyched about Dying Light than I was before.
I'm gonna say something. This is probably people at home are probably gonna be all like, "What the fuck, man?"
Right.
I didn't even know Dying Light was a first-person shooter.
Really?
Until I saw this, I was like, "Oh, why?" I guess it's a first-person shooter. I didn't know that.
I feel like they've kind of done a bad job really getting in your face with what Dying Light is. I mean, I know it's a parkour game that's kind of like Dead Island, right? And it's like made by the same developers. Is it
I don't know.
I'm going to look that up real fast.
The Call of Juarez, yeah, the Dead Island and Call of Juarez. It said right there on the screen.
Oh, okay,
you were looking at.
But this story trailer, it's got a lot of explosions. It's got a lot of pathos and. A dude that's kind of doing like his best Voss impression. I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like it's like Far Cry 3 meets Mirror's Edge meets
Dead Island.
Yeah, Dead Island.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the Techland that did Dead Island Riptide, Call of Juarez Gunslinger, and the Cartel. Actually, it looks like have they done all the Call of Juarez games? Wow, they've done all the Call of Juarez games. Oh, and the original. Okay, and Dead Island,
Yeah.
Dead Island Riptide. Okay, so Dead Island, Call of Juarez. honestly, I feel like this is going to be the sort of game that I play, I enjoy, and then I put down and never think of again in my entire life.
That's kind of most of the games that they release.
Couldn't tell you a single thing about Dead Island outside of Hoodoo You Voodoo Bitch. That's about all I remember, even though they've got 2 games, a MOBA and that third-person action game that Aaron and I looked at.
Yeah. I really wish the song from the second game was better.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it was.
Sam B song.
Yeah.
All I know is that in Riptide, it's funny, of all the different things that they're making. Wait, if they're making that, who's making Dead Island 2?
I don't know.
I didn't even realize that it wasn't being made by that same team. That shows how much I know these days. Okay, let's try typing.
So yeah, I have no idea. I mean, that is a good point that Jaeger development.
Okay, I knew that. Spec Ops: The Line.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I hope that they know how to not be depressing, Jaeger. But yeah, I don't know. It seems okay. It's got a kind of a generic Vasi-like guy. I've seen a bunch of buildings blowing up. There's some zombies and parkour people, apparently.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see.
I just feel like that game that they've done a terrible job of marketing.
I feel like that with a lot of games.
Yeah.
That they focus on the wrong thing, or they'll give me a trailer that I just don't give a shit about.
True.
Next up, Metal Gear Online. This was... So, okay, I actually should have looked up a lot more of these games before we started talking about them. But, John, what was your impressions about the trailer that you saw for Metal Gear Online?
It looked... it had a little bit of ridiculously to it, which I liked.
Okay.
And it looked like Metal Gear.
Mm-hmm.
But in an online capacity where you play with friends against other people.
Yeah, it looks... so one of the things... I never played all that much Metal Gear Online. So let's see. The last Metal Gear Online was released standalone. Okay, a month after... Yeah, a month after Metal Gear Solid 4 came out for the PlayStation 3.
Yes.
Oh, that's just in Japan. Okay.
Yeah. It never came out here stateside.
I think was there a PC? I seem to remember playing it at some point, but it was very weird. Oh no, maybe it was on the PSP that I played it.
Yeah, that could be it.
Portable Ops had that online component. Really weird. No, but I remember something else. Anyway, I think it looks really interesting, and I like the idea that the Metal Gear franchise has enough strangeness to it outside of just running and shooting. Like, there's a part in the trailer where a guy gets shot by an automatic Fulton system that's going to pop him up, and then the main character shoots the balloon to drop him back down.
Yeah.
There's a part where the guy is dressed up like Snake, right?
Yeah.
Is driving around this little Metal Gear Ed 209 thing, just blowing the shit up out of people.
Yeah. There's also they put down a little dog,
a little stuffed dog that looks like it acts like like the magazine does in Metal Gear, where if your character sees it, then they'll run over and they'll look at it, and you can't control them until somebody slaps you out of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm interested in it. I'm still more interested in playing Metal Gear Solid 5, but this looks like the online component, and it's being developed by Kojima Productions Los Angeles.
I think you're right if I remember seeing that.
Like an offshoot of Kojima, so I don't know who that is. I'm not sure who that is, but it looks all right. And the nice thing is that when we watch the trailer, it's still the Fox engine they're using looks good. It's really good looking, like 60 frames per second. It still looks really good. Nice explosions, all kinds of craziness. So I don't know, looks good. Next up, Bloodborne. There was a multiplayer Bloodborne trailer. Oh, my favorite Bloodborne.
I mean, is it possible for you to get more excited for this game than you were before?
No, they should put it out, because I can't get any more excited than I am right this second.
And here's the thing, I'll even admit, like, I've enjoyed watching Jeff play the Dark Souls games.
I didn't say it this time, folks. Yeah,
I've enjoyed watching Jeff play it. And I've tried to get into Dark Souls myself, just can't do it.
Yep.
But I'm kind of looking forward to Bloodborne. Like, I feel like it to me, it feels a little bit, just from what I've seen, it feels like it may be a little more accessible for some reason.
Oh no. Well, okay, maybe if you come into it from the beginning, but the thing that's of note from every Bloodborne trailer you've ever seen, nobody has a shield, so it's just a dodging game instead of, and maybe that simplicity will make it better because you'll
but
just
he
have
has
to
a
get
shotgun.
Then the shotgun acts like a stun, basically. But this particular trailer showed off the multiplayer. They had 3 different people that were going through the level, and then they got to a boss encounter. But you know what? Back to what you were saying. I highly encourage people that have thought about getting into Dark Souls and haven't, or Dark Souls 2 and haven't, to if you have even the remotest amount of patience and you're willing to try to get into it, it's always nice when one of these games comes out. It's nice to feel like you're a part of the emerging discovery part of the games, right? As people are figuring out the lore, they're posting theories about what they think it means. And since this one's being done by Miyazaki, you can bet that the storyline will probably be a little bit tighter than it was in Dark Souls 2.
Yeah.
But it's got a great aesthetic. I mean, it really does differentiate itself. Motherfucker had a flamethrower.
Yeah, it looks
in that
cool.
Video.
Like, again, that's the thing. Like, like Dark Souls, without actually watching you play it and like listening to you talk about the lore and stuff like that,
right.
I don't really think it looks that interesting. I don't think it looks that great.
Sure.
I don't have any interest in playing it until after those things happened.
Yeah.
This, like, I'm looking at the trailers going, that looks badass.
Yeah, I agree. So Bloodborne, at least, is going to have, I don't know yet if they're going to have invasions, but they're definitely going to have at least 3-person co-op.
And there's blood everywhere.
There's so much blood. I mean,
it's like
I know
Fist of the North Star up in this bitch.
I know it's called Bloodborne, but like there's a boss fight part at the end, and we actually watched a kind of a muddy version of this video, but I watched like the super high-res 1080p 60 FPS video or whatever.
Oh, look who's so special.
I know. And that boss, like, they're hitting the boss, and buckets of blood is coming out of the boss. The boss is hitting them, and buckets of blood are coming out of them. And so, like, the whole ground is just red with syrupy blood, and it looks fantastic. Also, is that dude a vampire?
It might be.
Looks like a vampire. Next up, we've got Haze Light, which is not hardly even worth talking about, except that it's the next game from the dudes What Made Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons.
Yeah.
EA's making it. The very end, they're like, and we got you a teaser.
We whipped up a little something for you.
Yep.
Hobos on a train.
That's right. It's more than most of the EA studios had last E3, but it still ain't much. That's not saying a lot, folks. Like, I think I'd rather go back and watch that 10 seconds of footage where the dude gets on the speeder bike at the Battlefront thing than this is just 2 guys sitting in a boxcar going past the wilderness. I don't know if I was supposed to go frame by frame and look for the something, but anyway. But Brothers Tale of Two Sons, great game. I'll totally play it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm kind of even lax. Okay, next up on the list is No Man's Sky. It's very similar to the previous.
It's new footage, and it's showing stuff that we haven't seen before, but it's showing it all to us in the way that we've seen it already.
Right, kind of an ethereal soundtrack, getting in a ship, flying to a different planet. We saw a mech walker.
Yeah.
We've seen some different biomes. In this particular trailer, there's a thing where you go into a portal and then it comes out the other side. But I'm just going to say what I said to you earlier, John. I need more information about what you actually do in the game, because if what you do is discover planets and look at animals, I'm not interested in playing that game, no matter how many worlds there are and how procedurally generated they are. I need to know what you shoot with the gun that I know is in the game and what consequences that has on the world before I'm willing to get any more excited about No Man's Sky. They can show me as many of these trailers as they want to, but my excitement level is about as high as it's going to get, which is about 32%. Until I see somebody build a base or add missiles onto a ship or complete a raid against a space boss or something, anything. I don't know.
Give me a story.
Yeah,
that's all I want. Tell me what the story is.
It's they keep coming out and touting how procedurally generated it is, right? Yeah. And you go, procedural generation is great. It makes you for a different thing every time, but it's not enough just to be a thing that you walk around inside of. You need a reason to keep walking, or else who cares?
I mean, they've talked about it in interviews where the point is to go towards the center of the universe. You start out from the outside and you want to go.
You want the closer you get to the center of the universe, the more access you have to ships and.
And my question is, what's at the center of the universe that makes me want to go that way? Right. Other than just tech upgrades and new equipment and stuff like that, what else? What is the crux of the game? Is it just loot? Are they basically trying to be Borderlands the MMO, but without the bazillion guns and shooting and craziness of it?
But I mean, I guess the thing is that that's enough of a draw, getting better equipment, as long as I know what you're using that equipment to do. It's like, okay, I got to fly closer to the center of the universe so I can get ships that can fly farther, so I can go closer to the center of the universe. You just go, who cares? Like, very pretty, very nice, cool. We're totally gonna play it on the show. I just need more information.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. And this is one of the games I want to get a PS4 for. But I do agree with you. I want a little bit more.
Next up, Until Dawn, which we have another. We're going to try not to double up because we've got so many trailers. But I think this is the game they showed briefly at E3, where it's like 5 campers in a cabin, and then this Jigsaw Jason Voorhees dude comes in and starts offing them, and it's going to be like Heavy Rain, where some of the characters can die.
Gesture
and
controls,
bunch of different endings and shit like that. Looks cool.
Which I'm going to say this: if it's like that, like if it's like that same type of storytelling that Heavy Rain had, I will give it. I'm on board. Then I'll play it.
Yeah.
Because I really liked Heavy Rain. The biggest problem I have with Heavy Rain is that the director has no idea what American life is like, and he needs to stop so much. Or just give the idea, give a basic outline, and then give the script to someone else to write. Because fucking dude, you don't know what Americans are like.
Yeah,
stop.
Wow, you're very incensed. Did you play Beyond Two Souls?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Oh, where
the birthday party.
Oh, the birthday party. So for me, the straw that broke the camel's back is that that girl had a date with the dude that she was into.
Yeah.
And didn't start cleaning up her fucking filthy pigsty apartment or getting ready like until about 10 minutes before the dude was supposed to get there. And it was just like, you kidding me? You slob? Like fucking clean the place up. She's like putting pizza boxes under the couch and putting chips, turning over a cushion that's got like a Coke stain on it. I'm just like, geez, Ellen Page, you're a fucking... Yeah, God, you're a pig. Anyway, though, this particular trailer looks pretty good. I mean, I know this is a thing that I say all the time. I'd kind of like to see 5 minutes of somebody actually playing this game to see what it's like, because you can totally make a great trailer for a game like this that could be total shit. But whatever. Looks good.
You know what? I didn't even know about the game before seeing the trailer, so now I know about it, and I'm kind of interested in it. So there's.
I mean, we looked up the company that did it, and they've mostly been doing ports in HD up-res games on the PlayStation side of things. So the thing that I have to keep reminding myself whenever a company's resume like that comes up is that companies like Rockstar or Rocksteady. Yeah. Like, Rocksteady made some shit-ass games before Arkham Asylum. Like some fucking Ido shovelware urban chaos bullshit games. So I don't ever want to count a development studio out, but it just makes me a little bit nervous, and it makes me want to do a little bit more diligence before I let them have my mind share of excitement. We had a cinematic trailer from The Order 1886 on an airship. Looked good.
Looks good.
We got another one later that we can talk more about The Order about. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt had a kind of a greatest clip show trailer where the Wild Hunt was talking shit to Geralt, and lady running around.
Yep.
Very medieval, just like bum bum bum. Still excited about the Witcher 3 is kind of like Bloodborne. It's like, yeah, guys, no, I'm gonna buy it when it comes out. I'm gonna play the shit out of it. Just go ahead, stop making trailers and start putting out video games already. Fucking CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, I want them to release it, but for a completely different reason.
All right, next.
It's the one I'm actually kind of excited for.
It's a 5-minute trailer for the new Zelda on the Wii U. I saw a lot of people flipping out about this, and I'm like, if it wasn't Zelda, you guys wouldn't give a shit. If another company showed you the footage that they showed you and it wasn't Link, it was just some other douchebag, you wouldn't give a shit about what you saw here. Like, he's standing up on top of a mountain, and then he jumps off the mountain and gets on his horse, and he rides his horse, he shoots some people with arrows, and then it's over, right?
Yeah, I can get that. I can totally understand that. And my thought on what is like, I want this game because I wanted a Wii U, a legit Wii U Zelda game.
Yep.
Though, don't get me wrong, Hyrule Warriors is awesome. And same with the Wind Waker HD and everything. But it's like, I look at them and my first thought is, this is beautiful.
Yep.
Looks great.
Yep.
Looks like it controls great.
Yep.
I really hope the land is more populated with enemies than it is in this walkthrough, because good God, that means there's going to be a lot of just riding a horse.
Yep.
And nothing happening.
Yeah.
Almost the polar opposite to what happened in Wind Waker, where it was just sailing.
Yeah.
For long periods of time with nothing happening.
I agree. I think that it just, like I said, it's just, I saw a bunch of people freaking out. OMG, did you see that? Did you see that Zelda on the Wii U footage? And I'm like, I think that there's a part of people's brains that is just going to be happy for any single thing that has Link in it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm a little bit more wary because there's been a few Zelda games that I liked, and there's been a few like Skyward Sword that I fucking hated. So I don't think this looks bad. I just think that the amount of enthusiasm that people had for what was shown here is a little bit over the top.
I also felt that the bigger surprise from the video had absolutely nothing to do with Legend of Zelda.
Yep.
Which is that they announced that Star Fox is going to get to store shelves in 2015 before the next Zelda game.
Yep.
To which I was like, awesome, where's our video of that? Because I want Star Fox.
Yeah. That was kind of funny at the end of that where they were like, yeah, it's coming out. It's like, haha, but Star Fox is coming out before that. He's like, haha, but Majora's Mask is coming out before Star Fox. It was like, great, guys, just maybe just release a date. Like, I mean, instead of just teasing us. Anyway, I don't know. It doesn't look bad. I'm not, I don't want to be shitting on people's parade. It's just, it looks like an alpha of an open world game, and I hope that there's a shit ton more things in it by the time it comes out, just like you.
Like, I would have hoped they would have shown us a dungeon.
Or maybe even just ended. Like, it seemed to just kind of fade out at the end there.
Yeah.
Like, there's just fighting dudes. I mean, the one part where he jumps off the horse and then it goes in slow motion while he's aiming his bow or whatever it was. That was pretty cool. But then at the end, they just kind of petered out. Like, it wasn't like they had a big thing. Like, at the end of the E3 thing, when they cut to that video and he was running along and there was that monster and all the bombs and shit, and that was great. This one just kind of...
No, I get you on that one.
Next up, the Fairly Odd Gentleman, I believe's King's Quest, which looks fun as hell.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I can't tell, but I like the fact that the main character is all spindly and sticky, as if he was the pixelated character from the old series with those little noodle pixel arms, right? But they show him wandering around doing stuff. It's a nice little voiceover. Those guys, I feel like they make good games. I'll totally play some King's Quest.
Yeah, it looks great, and this is the first of, if I'm not mistaken, of many games from the new Sierra brand from Activision. Mm-hmm. I hope I'm saying that right. I hope it is Activision. But they resurrected Sierra, and what it is that they're giving the Sierra properties to indie studios, and just saying, hey, here's this property. Here's this property, and hopefully, do something with it.
Yeah.
Do something awesome with it, and once, we'll let you interpret it how you want, but just keep it along these lines.
Yep, it looks like it is. Yeah, I didn't actually even know that before you told me today about it, but I think that's a great idea. The Odd Gentleman, and it is Sierra Entertainment resurrected by Activision.
Yeah.
So, all right, Godzilla. Nothing happened in this trailer. It was just kind of a vanity trailer. It showed some Godzilla, and then showed some Godzilla.
Yeah.
And then the Mothra.
I've heard things about the game.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We'll have to get... Matt, just calm down, Matt. Calm down. We'll get you on here soon enough, all right? But, yeah.
How did you know that's who I heard the things about the game from?
That's who you hear everything that's Godzilla about from. You put Matt Frank on your timeline, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to get updates about when Godzilla things happen. That's what you're going to get.
Yeah, it looks good, though.
Yeah, looks fine.
Trailer didn't really show much.
And before, it was kind of a tedious trailer. This is the next one from the guys that made Gary's Mod and Rust, I guess. Yeah. And it's basically, it looks like a kind of a hunting stuff in a weird cell shade, or not cell shaded, but just a primitive geometry the look of it is very stylized but very primitive. Looks like a bunch of cavemen doing caveman things. I mean,
it's kind of a low graphic style to it, and just cavemen doing things that cavemen do.
Yep,
hunting, gathering supplies.
Yeah, the trailer's 3 minutes long, and I think that John and I we started watching the trailer. I was like, okay. Oh, okay. All right, now show me something. Anything that's not just a vanity shot of the land with the sun.
Land. Oh, there's a whale.
Yeah, there's a whale.
Is that a whale? Yes, it's a whale.
That's a whale. Yep. So, I don't know. Next up, we have a drone eft. A drift with the one for the eye. I don't know how you say it.
ADR 1 foot?
ADR 1 foot. That's what we've got. Yeah. This is a game that is what? It looks like Gravity?
Gravity, the video game.
Sort of. Got a guy. I mean, basically, like, it was a character with their hands out, floating through the air, and they were running out of oxygen, and they were flying in space. The only claim to fame this thing has is going to be on the PS4 and the Xbox One and the PC with Oculus Rift support. I got to tell you, from what I've done with the Oculus, space works great in the Oculus because the ability to look around, you really get a weird feeling off of just seeing the Earth down there.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I like to see more.
I
want to
see more. Yeah, it looks fun. Looks like it could be interesting.
Finally, Human Element, which I thought looked pretty goddamn badass, actually. Yeah. This looked like some kind of multiplayer shooter with a kind of a weird, like, the animation style is interesting. It's a very kind of jerky animation style.
Yeah.
But this character on a motorcycle, and he blows it up, and then he's shooting a bunch of guys, and then somebody hits a guy, and then guy's out of ammo or something, and then another dude turns into like a zombie. It tells you almost nothing. It's just a bunch of shooting in a kind of a Mad Maxy post-apocalyptic-ish thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks cool. It looks cool though. I look forward to seeing more.
Yep. So yeah, it looks good. I want to see more. All right. Now, before we move on to the Sony stuff, there's a couple of other announcements to get out of the way. One, I could not contain
so happy.
My glee that they got enough money to make the Banner Saga 2. Oh, thank God. I've been holding my breath for the entire year because this is like the first game I played last year, or first big, like, I got my hooks into me
Banner
game.
Saga was good.
And when it ended where it ended, I was just like, no, I want more Banner Saga. You can't do that. That's no. So good.
Yeah.
And if they don't wrap up their story in Banner Saga 2, because it's supposed to be a trilogy, right?
I think so.
I goddamn well hope they're filling up Banner Saga 2. I've seen a few screenshots from it. I don't know if you have, but
I have not.
Banner Saga is so pretty, and our good friend Patrick actually worked on the first Banner Saga.
Yeah.
And I thought that the art style and everything that was incredible. Like, what I would really love to see more than anything, John, is for some giant studio to just throw enough money at it that they can afford to outsource some animation during the talking parts of the game instead of the still frames.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit more custom animation. I think that would be cool. But yeah, I thought that game was, for what it was, absolutely incredible. Loved it. Can't wait for Banner Saga 2. Also, before we get into the Sony thing, right before the Sony PlayStation experience,
something leaked,
and that is that there is Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V is coming to PS4 and PC exclusive.
Yeah.
And you know what? I can understand if it was a PS4 exclusive, but as a PS4 and PC exclusive, it's just like, yeah, fuck you, Microsoft.
I actually have
Nintendo.
a theory on this.
Are you okay? Lay it on me.
It's based on nothing, but pure conjecture.
All right,
I'm getting that out there before I get quoted as fact.
Okay, Elvis came back from the
big thing that they're saying on this is that the game has cross-platform multiplayer.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think they went to Microsoft, and Microsoft said no.
Yeah,
because here's the difference. So I don't know how it is on the PS4, but I know Microsoft is they house all the servers for all their games.
Yeah,
or at least that's how it was with the Xbox 360. Whereas Sony was like, no, you host your own servers, and we'll work our network through that.
Right.
And I think when they went to Microsoft and said, "Oh, we would like it to be cross-platform so that Sony and PC players can access the multiplayer," I think Microsoft went, "No, we're not going to allow that on our network."
Maybe while you're saying this, I'm reading this one story that says that during the actual keynote at the Adam Boyes during the PlayStation experience, they said that it was built from the ground up for the PlayStation 4.
Oh, okay.
But that doesn't make any sense.
Well, that doesn't also mean that they didn't before they started working on it that they said, "Hey, this is what we want to do with the next Street Fighter," and Microsoft said, "Don't even bother."
Well, okay, listen. It doesn't make any sense because the hardware in those two systems is virtually identical.
Correct.
So it's kind of stupid to say, like, we built this from the ground up for the PS4. And it's like, no, it's a PC. They're all PCs. We're not playing the Cell Architecture Power PC game anymore.
Yeah.
They're all just x86 PCs. So, but I've heard some other rumors that this was like a Bayonetta situation where Sony kicked in development money to make it happen.
Oh, basically like Tomb Raider 2?
Yeah, but that was on our... I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked into this. I'm sorry, folks. I don't actually have... Like, I don't spend a lot of time... When a story like this comes up, I don't immediately go, ooh, I need to spend 4 hours figuring out exactly what's going on. So if you guys know or have some actual factual linkage to put into the comments,
feel free.
You should do that. Oh, shit, man, we are running so far behind. All right, PlayStation Experience Roundup. We're going to have to speed up a little bit, but before we speed up, we're going to slow down talking about the 15-minute Uncharted 4 A Thief's End trailer. So this trailer, I started watching it, John.
Yeah.
And then I stopped watching it. When the day that it came out, I hit the play button on it, and it was just Nathan Drake, and he's just walking around, and he's like, doop-a-doo, I'm in caves, and I'm climbing up walls. And I'm like, great, I've seen this about 1 billion times before. And then they got to the combat section of the game, and whoo, doggy, like...
Kind of wish they had gotten to that quicker.
Yeah, that was pretty intense. And I don't know if that's just the way that some person who's played that part of the game 1 million times is able to do it. But for those of you who haven't seen the trailer, they were in this area that had it was like a big arena that had just like a shitload of handholds and places that you could go, areas where you could hide dynamically. Yeah. And Drake was all over the place, man. He was swinging to different places and going through here and losing guys and then finding them again and throwing grenades.
There was like never a moment where he stopped.
Yeah, and the thing is that I mean, it's been a while, and we're playing Uncharted 1 on the sequential Saturday, but there's a lot of parts of Uncharted where it seems like you're encouraged more to just kind of hunker down. I mean, you're talking about kind of larger spaces that don't have as much in the way of getting to other places. I guess, you know what? It would be really interesting to know about that trailer.
Yeah.
In that trailer, Drake works his way through these guys from one side to the other, and then he goes out, and we'll get to that in a second. But it would be interesting to know whether inside of that area you could kill all of the guards that were there if they would just spawn indefinitely until you left the area, because that could be a great incentive to make sure that people are moving, that they're not hunkering down, right? Because eventually you'll just run out of ammo and they'll overtake you because you can't shoot all of them.
Yeah.
There's just not any way that if you stay static that you're going to be able to do that. I don't know. It seems like they've added not a lot of this direct stealth from The Last of Us, but that Uncharted 2, I guess, had like the museum part, and a lot of Uncharted games you would be stealth, and then once you got seen, it was kind of like, all right, well, we'll just blast our way out of here. But here, you saw him going from being seen back into stealth, back out to being seen, back out to stealth.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. Also, you got a grappling hook. You just jump off the side of a thing, throw a grappling hook, and then punch a guy, and then he flips his gun up in the air, and then he grabs it. It was like, what?
There's a lot of moments like that.
That was the noise that I made when I was watching it. I went, wah! Now, there is one question that I feel like a lot of people have. In fact, somebody sent me an email to this effect of, what's up with Nathan Drake's face?
They made him look more like Nathan Fillion, but also Italian.
I think, well, so in Uncharted, in the original trailer, there's also been a lot of comparison between the original trailer and what we saw here.
Yeah.
And how it seems like there isn't quite as much graphical fidelity as the E3 trailer where he gets up out of the thing. Now, I don't know if that's just because it isn't zoomed in on him, so we're seeing it from further away. But then there was another article that I saw that actually made the same, that said that, like, here are screenshots from Uncharted 3, and here are those same scenes in Uncharted 3, and they're different. And they've been lowered in resolution, and things have been taken away. So, I think that if they manage to make the game look 75% as good as that original trailer when it finally comes out, they've done their job.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Wonderful.
Heck, I think if it looks even 75% as good as that playthrough we saw, I'd be okay with it.
Yep. Yeah, Naughty Dog hasn't done it wrong. Oh, and then at the very end, surprise! Oh, wait, for those of you who don't want spoilers about Uncharted, skip forward by 2 minutes. Surprise! Nathan Drake's got a brother.
Apparently.
I'd be willing to bet from just that interaction that I saw that he's some piece of shit that drags Nathan out of retirement on an ill-gotten quest for gold, and that Nathan has to follow him around. And
I also wonder if them writing a relative or at least someone that refers to him as a brother,
right,
is not part of when they were trying to get a movie off the ground with Mark Wahlberg, and they were like, it's a family of explorers who go around, and I was like, there's no family in it, and then now suddenly there's a hint of a family.
Yeah,
and
makes you wonder where the brother was while Sully was his surrogate mentor. Dad, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. All right, so let's roll through these pretty fast. MLB 15, the show. John, do you care?
Nope.
Okay, neither do I. It's baseball. It looks good. Go watch the trailer. I don't care. Ultra Street Fighter 4 is coming to the Sony PS4.
Cool.
Great. Not apparently the Xbox One?
Nope.
Okay. Killing Floor 2. Never played the original. I thought it was a Half-Life mod. Can't be sure.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have asked us over the years to play it. I've just never gotten a real chance to. It was actually even on the docket this year for the Asylum, but then I decided to go with something else instead. Trailer for this looks good. Yeah, a combination of Left 4 Dead and
Shadow Warrior,
and
Quake or Doom. Not Quake, but like Doom.
The lighting engine reminded me a lot of Doom. Zombies running up. Somebody in the comments can tell us what differentiates Killing Floor from Left 4 Dead, because I get just a really heavy Left 4 Dead vibe off of it. The Forest.
We played this.
We've played The Forest on the Super Awesome Video Game Show, and you guys should totally go check that video out, because just do a search for The Forest, or SAVGS The Forest.
It looked exactly like what we played.
Yep. Orcs Must Die Unchained, which is the next Orcs in the Orcs Must Die franchise for the PS4. This was a very fun trailer.
Yeah, looked fun.
It looked like it would be nice. I think Orcs Must Die, up until now, has it been out on any of the consoles, or has it just been a PC game?
I think it was on... I want to say it was on the 360 and PS3.
The original?
Yeah. I could be wrong. Again, could be. I think it was. I thought it was a deal like a Xbox Live or.
Let's see. Orcs Must Die original, XBLA, and then Windows. XBLA 2011, Windows 2011, and then let's see.
That's kind of interesting. That a lot of the things that a lot of people have, or a lot of things that's been going on here, is that Orcs Must Die 2 was Windows only.
Okay.
Is that a lot of what we're seeing in these is a lot of stuff that may have previously been
PC
Microsoft
only?
Exclusive.
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe
that's interesting.
Looks like it has a lot of character. I look forward. Yeah. I've never played any of the Orcs Must Die series. I think I own both of them on Steam.
I played the first one,
but I'm looking forward to getting into it.
It's a new. It's like a third-person tower defense game.
Yeah. Darkest Dungeon. I have no fucking clue what this game is about, but it looks interesting in a lot of very bizarre ways. Like, it seems to be some kind of like at the bottom of the screen, we seem to be seeing a map, maybe like a going from room to room, like on a grid, like you're playing old D&D map, and then
there's like some RPG like turn-based combat.
Yeah, it looks like you've got a party of like 4. And that they're in a row, and you're fighting other people. But really, this trailer got me interested, and nothing more. I mean, like, I can't tell you anything about this. Dude's in a plague doctor mask, but then there's also people with guns. There's a guy who looks like a medieval knight. There's a woman there in this. We're just looking at one screenshot for the trailer. So I have no idea what time period this is or what's going on. You know what I should probably do real quick here is just do a search for who is making this. Red Hook Studios. This is just a straight up indie developer. So
yeah.
All right. Turn-based strategy, dungeon crawl, roguelike under genres on Wikipedia. I'll play it. Let's see. Bastion is coming to the PS4. Great. Wonderful.
Cool.
I've played Bastion a bunch of times. I don't need to play it again.
Bastion is fun.
I don't really feel the need to play Bastion more than once.
No, I don't feel the need to play it again. But it was good.
Skytorn is another indie game that looks really interesting. Kind of Terraria and Super Time Forcey a little bit.
Yeah.
Shovel Knight. I'm just saying the names of games now. I'm not actually like Tetris.
Almost like a style look like Dungeon of the Endless, but not in gameplay.
Yeah, more of a side-scrolling.
Yeah.
But then the character like has a shovel, and they seem to be digging through the level.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to be just a straight, kind of Shovel Knight, like go from one side of the level to another, or if it's going to have some Terraria-style elements of building or things like
Looks
that.
like it could be good, though.
Whatever it is, it pushes all Jeff's buttons of you want to play this. Severed is the next game from Drinkbox, the folks who made Guacamelee, coming to the Vita. The trailer made me a little nervous, John.
It looks like a touchscreen game.
It looks like a touchscreen game. It reminds me of what happened with Chair, right? When they went to go do Infinity Blade after.
And then that's all they made.
Yeah, they made a great Metroidvania game, right? And then they went to go make an iPad game, and that's what they came up with.
And then they just kept making more.
Yep. And I'll be honest, I mean, I like Drinkbox. I like their art aesthetic.
Yeah.
I like the music in the trailer quite a bit. It's like a girl gets her arm chopped off and then gets some kind of crazy multicolor mood ring arm.
Yeah.
I'll play it, but
I don't have a Vita, so I won't be playing it.
When they put stuff on the Vita, it goes to the bottom of my list. Like maybe I need to go get a PlayStation TV so that it doesn't. But honestly, my Vita is something that I'll pull out every once in a while for something very specific, but it's not something that I use all the time. Shovel Knight is coming to the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3. That's great. It belongs there. It's a great platformer.
And they've added Kratos.
Oh, yes, and Kratos is in there. I never actually did a review for Shovel Knight, but if I did, I think I probably would have given it a 4.5.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was a hell of a lot of fun. It's actually got a fair amount of replay value. It was just a really, really fun little game.
Yeah, I agree.
Creative as hell. Street Fighter V. Okay, so the gameplay trailer for Street Fighter V, we didn't talk about that.
We just talked about it being released, the leak.
So I'm not smart enough to tell you from my fighting game knowledge if any of the moves they're doing are crazy different or whatever.
Here's the thing: it looks like a better looking version of Street Fighter 4, with a bigger level design. And
the characters look like they're a little bigger on the screen.
Yeah, they look a little bit bigger. It looks like they still have that ink aesthetic, but it's been toned down
quite a bit.
But it's like I said, I wasn't really I was not like, oh my god, that I was like, oh, so it's instead of doing Super Ultra Street Fighter 4 Arcade Mega Mix Total Armageddon Alpha Edition, they went, let's just make a Street Fighter 5.
Yeah,
and again, it also says this is alpha footage. This is not final,
right?
So it may look even better and stuff.
I think that the two things that I've heard that make me interested in it is a rumor that it takes place after Street Fighter 3,
which I would love,
which I think is great because I love the Street Fighter 3 characters. And then inside of the trailer that they released, there is a moment where Chun-Li knocks Ryu through the edge of the screen into an expanded stage, which I think is something, at least to my knowledge, that Street Fighter has not done before.
No, Street Fighter's never done anything like that.
Which it seems to me like that could really change up the dynamic, at least for the way that people play, right? Of being able to corner and juggle people and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because Street Fighter's always kind of had that invisible wall where there may not be anything there, but you can't go any further back.
Yeah.
So for it to now have a wall that not only can you knock someone into, but you can also break through that wall in the environment, I dig that.
It's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see what else they're adding into the game. I mean, I think that Capcom's got a lot of experience making these games. I know that people... I mean, I get tired once they get past the second version, so I don't usually buy the fifth or sixth version.
Yeah.
But I'm interested. I like to play Street Fighter. I don't like to play it against people who know how to play it real well, because that's a drag. They just kick your ass. But I'm still interested in playing it. Super Time Force Ultra is coming to the PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita.
STFU.
Yep. And Yoshida, the trailer report's great. I hope he's in the game.
Yeah, I hope he's an actual unlockable character.
Yeah, because his attacks looks like shooting a heart out of his cell phone, and then basically like a tweet if you charge
I love
up.
PS4.
Yeah.
And
I saw a few things in that trailer, if I remember my Super Time Force, that I don't think were in the original.
I'm sure
Super
they've
Time
added
Force.
some stuff.
Like there were some dark versions of the characters. It seemed like that I saw.
Well, I know that that Super Time Force Ultra was released on on PC.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I never went back to play it. I mean, I thought Super Time Force was fun, but just not something. It kind of wears on you a little bit after a while.
Yeah.
Next up, the trailer, and there was actually an announcement during the PlayStation Experience where they said that they're going to be remaking Day of the Tentacle.
Yes.
Have you seen any of the art from that?
I have not seen any of the remastered art or anything like that.
There's one. I don't know if this is actually for real, but I saw one screenshot that was. Let's see, where was it? That was kind of like HD versions of the characters from Day of the Tentacle, which I think is it, I guess. Just hand-drawn versions. So that's what I was really most concerned about, was that they were going to be using hand-drawn versions and not 3D-ifying Day of the Tentacle.
Well, I figured they'd probably do it the same way they did the Monkey Island HD.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. That'd be absolutely great. But anyway, there was also a trailer for Grim Fandango Remastered.
Yes.
And I think I had expected them to smooth out Grim Fandango just a little bit more than they did. I mean, it's definitely got better lighting effects, and the characters have been redone, and they're all in HD and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's some of just the actual construction of the characters where they still kind of seem like they're made out of paper that's been cut out and kind of folded around stuff, right?
I'm actually okay with that because it adds to the aesthetic. I mean, that's kind of the style that they're going for.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I maybe expected something a little bit different.
Okay.
But it's coming out next month, so
yeah, it's coming out in January.
Can't complain.
No.
Well, I can, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
All right, Enter the Gungeon, Zelda-style top-down shooting game from Dodge Roll Games and published by Devolver Digital. What? The magic words.
Devolver Digital.
Devolver Digital. Okay, I'll buy it.
Yep. And I don't think we've actually talked about this, you and I, in a public forum, but you and I seem to be really in love with everything Devolver Digital puts out.
Yep. There's only one game of theirs that I don't think I've really gotten into, which is the one where it's the shooter where you have the 6 bullets or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
you pick your bullets back up after you shoot them. I never did go back and play that game. I don't remember what it's called. But I really want... What was the one that we played that was the 90s cover, the 2D cover-based shooter?
Oh, God, I can't think of what it is off the top of my head.
Damn, I want to play that game.
It was shown at E3, and we were kind of like, I wonder what's about that game. And then we went to RTX, and we were like, oh, my God, we get to play this game.
Yeah, get off of the station, kid, I'm playing this. And then there's what? Titan Souls was the one that had the single arrow. That one was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of arrows, Fat Princess Adventures. It's funny when they first announced this in the trailer, I thought that the style they had was what the game was going to look like, but no.
Yeah.
This seems to be 4-person hack and slash multiplayer, go into a dungeon top down kind of game based on the Fat Princess stuff.
I'm actually kind of happy. Like, I'm not like because I actually liked Fat Princess. I don't know if you played it at all.
Yeah, sure.
I liked Fat Princess, and I actually wish they would have done more. And so it kind of makes me happy that they're gonna go back to the franchise, but do it differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that I liked Fat Princess, but I just wasn't interested after probably about 9 to 10 hours of continuing to play it.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what Watam is. I have no idea, but it's from the creator of Katamari Damacy and Nobi Nobi Boy, right?
So, did we ever figure out what Nobi Nobi Boy is actually about?
I don't know where Nobi Nobi Boy is. Did Nobi Nobi Boy ever get past the moon?
I don't know.
Or get to Uranus or wherever it was going? I don't know. Anyway, this trailer, a guy with it's a square, he tries on a bunch of hats and he's got an explodey thing under his hat. I don't know what the fuck. What the fuck?
Watam!
That's right. What Remains of Edith Finch is also kind of nebulous, and what the fuck is it? I don't know.
It's a crime story, or is it a mystery?
No idea. It's something.
That's what the text says.
That's, yeah. Who knows? It's got a voiceover. It's got some creepy atmospheric type of stuff. I'll give it a chance.
Yeah,
same here. Fine with me. I'm so happy that Tearaway is coming to the PS4.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really want to play it on the Vita. As I said before, I don't really play Vita games unless it's something very specific. So Tearaway is coming to the PS4, and it looks like they're actually... I was watching a thing where they said they're actually redoing a lot of the stuff that they did that used the touchpad and the camera and stuff like that on the Vita to do different things with the speaker and the light bar, and if you have a camera on your PS4, the camera on the PS4, and the accelerometer in the PS4 controller. I think it has an accelerometer in it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does.
So yeah, I really wanted to play this Media Molecules kind of third-person weirdo crazy game, and I'm
Yeah,
really
it looks
excited.
fun.
Yeah. Yakuza 5 is so dramatic. John.
Everyone's all angry.
Fight for your life. Do
For your dream.
Fill the dreams of hope. Hope is the best.
Apparently, you play as a bunch of Yakuza and a pop star.
No. One of those guys was a Yakuza, but I'd be willing to bet that one of them is a cop, and one of them is probably slightly shady, but not in the mob. That's at least the formula that I've gotten for most Yakuza.
Yeah.
And then they'll be thrust together in an adventure. The only thing I think that came out of this particular trailer, I think, by the way, I think it looks really good.
Yeah, no, it looks great.
I mean, Yakuza's been one of those games where you gotta give Yakuza some time to get its shit together, but when it does, but I think they said in the trailer that it's taking place in 5 different cities.
5 different cities.
Which is crazy balls, especially if they do what they do in the previous Yakuza games, which is doing a fairly accurate representation of that. I mean, it's like Liberty City, right? But it's one of the districts in Japan. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
It's the story of 4 men and 1 woman.
And 1 woman, who apparently the guys all want to be Yakuza killers, and she wants to be a pop idol?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was getting at earlier.
All right, I'm skipping until dawn, but next up... how many more of these do we got? Okay, not
too many.
Because we're way over our time.
The biggest troll ever.
The biggest troll ever. Final Fantasy VII is coming to the PS4, and it's just the PlayStation 1 version of the game being put out on the PlayStation 4. Well, it's probably that PC version that they put a little bit of the...
It's the PC version.
But go fuck yourself, Square Enix. Come on. How many times do people need to play Final Fantasy VII? You know how many times I played Final Fantasy VII? Once. How many times did you play Final Fantasy VII?
Once.
And really, have you felt the burning desire to go back and play through the entire game from start to finish?
No, but I have friends that have played that umpteen times.
Yeah.
And would love a actual remake, HD remaster thing, and Square Enix teases it every now and then and goes, but we're never actually going to do it.
You know what I feel like the next thing that they can do, right, is they can make a trailer. You're going to see all these Final Fantasy VII things, right? You're going to see all this crazy, like the monsters, right? And it's going to show the Shinra building, and it's going to show the reactor and everything, and then it's going to be like, Dirge of Cerebus HD re-release. Play the PlayStation 2 Classic now in HD with totally remastered Vincent and stuff, and everyone will be like, fucking die in a fire.
I was going to say, they did a tech demo once.
Yep.
And it pissed people off.
Final Fantasy VII, yeah.
They did a tech demo, and then they were like, no, we're going to make a movie.
Yep. I don't know why they would do that. I don't know why they would make that tech demo. They should have known that they were opening themselves up to infinite badgering.
Oh, no, yeah. I think they knew.
Yeah.
I think they knew.
You know what? I'd honestly settle for... They're putting out that Final Fantasy 13 Agito phone game. Was it a phone game in Japan?
Yeah.
Or was it a 3DS game or something? They're remastering it. They're putting it out on the PlayStation 4, I believe. I really would want them to just put out Crisis Core. I never had a chance to finish Crisis Core, and I'd love a chance to go back and do that. Because Zach is the man.
Not to derail you, I actually got an even better troll.
All right, do it.
So they show a trailer, and it shows like this HD remastered, completely awesome-looking remake of Final Fantasy VII.
Uh-huh.
And then slowly it pans out to reveal it's playing on a TV, and it's a character from the whatever the
Final
new
Fantasy 15.
For Final Fantasy 15, the guy was like, "Oh, I gotta go actually go do something and put this controller down and run out, and then it's a completely different game that has nothing to do with Final Fantasy VII."
That is beautiful. Get on top of that. Another No Man's Sky trailer. Nope, not talking about it. New David Jaffe game, right? Drawn to Death. The premise of which is this is a third-person action game that it's
an arena shooter.
Yep. But it's all like it takes place on the notebook paper
of a teenager, of a kid's notebook where he draws like terrible, evil, disgusting things.
Right.
And you pick a character, and then you play. The levels are like different pages from his high school notebook.
Yep.
Which I never knew a kid that could draw that well in his high school notebook. But that
was my high school notebook actually.
Okay.
That was what I did in high school. But
it looks cool.
It looks interesting. I don't necessarily like the 3D aspect of it all that much. Like it looks a little chintzy to me as far as the 3D goes. I mean, I know that it wouldn't be possible to make it as a multiplayer shooter otherwise. I don't know. See, the thing is that Jaffe's last game actually Calling All Cars on the PlayStation 3?
It might have been.
I'm going to look that up real fast because David Jaffe got me good with Calling All Cars. It's not a bad game, but when
or was it Twisted Metal, the newest one?
Oh, I bet it was. Yes, it probably was.
Yeah, it was the newest Twisted Metal.
Let's see.
Was the most recent one.
Yeah, Twisted Metal 2012, which was okay.
It was okay.
It was okay.
It had problems.
But I don't think that Jaffe has enough goodwill built up with me that I'm immediately going to go out and get drawn to. I mean, we'll look at it on the show.
Here's the thing. I get this feeling like this is going to be one of those games that I'm going to play.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, oh, this is cool. I have no interest in playing this again. Or I'll be like, oh, man, this is really cool. I'd like to play some more of this. Like, I don't know. Like, what was that Batman game that was the arena shooter, team-based shooter?
Oh, Gotham City Imposters.
Gotham City Imposters, where it was like, oh, this is fun. This is cool.
Yeah.
Never care to play this again.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looks all right. I'll give it a shot. But I'm not. It doesn't immediately hook me. Yeah. Jaffe, to me, is a little bit like, at this point, not quite exactly the same, but he's a little bit like American McGee, where you can put his name on a game, and I'll keep an eye on it, but I'm not necessarily going to go, Berg!
Yeah.
I like David Jaffe's Twitter account way more than I like the games he's put out in the last couple of years. Gang Beasts. We played it. Go watch it.
I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
More so than the one for the forest. If you're like, you know what, they've told us to go watch 2 super awesome video game videos.
Right.
If you only watch one, watch Gang Beasts.
Yeah, watch Gang Beasts.
Because it's so awesome.
I need to get more people in here for Gang Beasts. Maybe
it's so good.
It's really fun game to play with multiple people. The Order 1886, John, you had said that you had not actually gotten a chance to see the gameplay of the Order 1886
Correct.
yet.
And we watched it before we started recording.
Yes. And this
looks good.
Yeah, third-person action game.
Yeah.
Looks solid.
This is one of the games that I will be buying, that guarantees my purchase of a PS4.
Yep. Last up, Batman Ace Chemicals Part 3. It was kind of just whatever. It's
Batman.
It was the third part of that. All right, we've gone on for far too long, so I'm just going to say before we leave, Ralph Baer, the guy who's in some cases, it looks like, I'm not really super familiar with him, but it looks like in a lot of cases he was the person who was credited with creating the first video game console of all time. Has passed away at the age of 92. Great. I mean, not great that he passed away, but he was old, and it's nice when a person gets to live out their life. It's sad, but, it's not like he was 30 or anything. So, yep, pour one out, drop a taco on the ground or whatever.
Pull out your Atari 2600 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and so good on you, sir. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to answer some questions. Not a shitload of questions. I'm going to cut our question quota in half because we've been going for 90 minutes just in this first section. But stay tuned, and we'll be back momentarily. All right, folks, we are back, and it is time for the questions. The email address is mail@rageselect.com. And John, how are your advice skills?
Pretty good. I mean, we do questions on Geek Bombast all the time. That's a good half of our show.
Okay, good. Well, let's get right into it. Our first one here comes in from, I'm going to say, Sam. He didn't sign this. He says, "Hey, Jeff and John. I recently noticed that I like a lot of unpopular games. For example, I loved Assassin's Creed 3, Alpha Protocol, War in the North, and KOTOR 2, despite their mixed to negative reception, and I've replayed them several times over. Although I see the flaws that have turned other people off, there is something special in each of these games that keeps bringing me back. So my question is, what games have a special place in your hearts despite their flaws or poor reputation, and what qualities did they have that kept you coming back for more? Thanks for all the great content, Robo Jeeves." And then he has a PS. This is kind of an administrative thing. So, John, this is a great question for you, I think.
Actually, he mentioned a game that I actually kind of like, and you kind of made a noise too, which is Alpha Protocol.
Yeah, well, I always make a noise when I talk about Obsidian.
Yeah,
so.
well, and I'll say, in regards to Alpha Protocol, it's a terrible game.
Yeah.
It's a game that when I saw it, I was like, you know what? If that game ever becomes less than $5, I will totally buy that, and I will probably enjoy it for the amount that I paid for it.
Yeah.
Steam sale happened. It was less than $5. Bought it, and you know what? I actually enjoyed it for what I paid for it.
Yeah, I you know what? I've tried. Okay, I don't. I've tried playing Alpha Protocol like a number of times. Like I've tried playing every Obsidian game.
It could have been infinitely better.
I'm terribly sorry. Every time Obsidian comes up, some new person wanders onto our podcast and is like, "What? Jeff has a problem with Obsidian." Yes, I'm sorry. Go back. You can listen to some previous shows. I don't know. Maybe I'm not going to record a podcast when it is just here's my problem with Obsidian, and then everybody can just shit on it and it'll be done. Let's see. I actually really liked War in the North. Did you ever play that?
No, never played that one.
I thought it was a credible game. It's funny. I don't go back and replay games that aren't stellar because I just don't have time to invest in things that are not super good. But it's funny. What was the game? The Walking Dead Survival Instinct.
Yeah,
was a terrible game. But it had some interesting things in it. Specifically, I think it was one of the first zombie games that I had ever played that had a pretty decent stealth element to it because the Walking Dead zombies go off of sound, right? And it kind of added a little bit to the gameplay of the game in a few different ways. I'm trying to think of other games that other people would consider to be crappy that I really liked. I mean, let's see. You know what? I enjoy, not as much as the first one or even the other one, but I enjoy BioShock 2.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people, in fact, I remember writing it was the only question that I've ever written into a podcast, and it got read on the Giant Bombcast, which was when BioShock 2 was getting ready to come out, people were like, there's no need to make this game. And I was like, well, nobody wants to play more BioShock in just the same place in Rapture. Nobody wants that. And I was like, I kind of want that. I would like to see more of Rapture. It's definitely not as good as the first BioShock, but what I will tell you is that it does combat better than the first BioShock.
Yeah.
Specifically in the fact that you don't have to switch between either a weapon or a plasmid. You can use them both at the same time, much the way that I think BioShock Infinite did, right?
Yeah.
And then they also had the sections where you had to let your little sister harvest Adam, and then you had to defend, and so you could set up all those traps and stuff like that. Oh, that was all great. I thought that was fine. Trying to think of other stuff. I can tell you a few movies.
Yeah.
I really like Speed Racer. I really think it's
I love
fun
Speed Racer.
movie.
Speed Racer's awesome.
When you hang out with a bunch of movie snobs and you talk about Speed Racer, and all just like, ugh. Or as I said multiple times on this show, you know what? I don't have as big a problem with Michael Bay as a lot of people do. I understand. I'm not holding his movies up as some kind of art that people need to, look deeply into. But I think the movies are fun if you want popcorn. I like the Riddick movies a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I love the Riddick movies.
Especially the second one, which I think is probably my favorite, which is not a popular opinion at all. I was trying to think of more games, though. Can you think of another game? That's
I'm trying to think here. Widely not considered good. I off the top of my head, I'm sure there's like 3 or 4 games that either you or someone has looked at my game collection and went, "Why do you own this?"
Yeah. I almost feel like pausing this so I can run downstairs and look at the games.
But your excuse is I have to own everything. I run a website where I have to either review or play all of these games.
Sure.
And the only way I can play them is by owning them.
Yeah. It's weird, too, because if you had asked me this question kind of before I started doing this for a living, I probably would have had a lot more answers. But now I really don't have time to play much except if a game really isn't worth a damn, I don't have time to dig into it and find the hidden qualities of it. Actually, wait. Oh, fuck, there's one on the tip of my tongue. This year, Bound by Flame, I thought was pretty decent for what it was. Also, it was not a very good game, but Inversion had some very interesting ideas about the whole gravity up and down thing. So there have been plenty of games out there like that. I think that there was a time when there were more of those, but I think that at this particular point in history, we're at a time where games seem like they're either bad or good. They don't seem to fall very much in the kind of mid-tier section. I'll tell you what, I think that people have a lot more nostalgia for, this is kind of the opposite of his question, I think people have a lot more nostalgia for Mirror's Edge than a lot of times it deserves. Because the story for Mirror's Edge is really kind of stupid. Yeah. And once you get about 2/3 of the way through the game, the puzzles, such as they are, a little... So, Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I've got. I mean,
Anything
I can't
else?
really off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything else.
If you come up with anything else, you just scream it at an inappropriate time into the microphone. Be like, "Brr!" I don't. See, if I had another one, I'd tell you. If I had an example,
well, if I can think of another one, I'll definitely do that.
anything by Obsidian. No.
like 3 weeks from now, when we're recording Super Awesome Video Game Show, I'll just be like,
Right.
And you're like, why are you yelling that game name? I was like, on the podcast, you told me to.
Yeah, just from now until the end of time, just inappropriate. It's like one of those things where you come up with the perfect comeback to that asshole like 5 minutes after they've already left. All right, our next one comes in from Dan David, who says, this is kind of a weird question, and it doesn't really, sorry, John, it doesn't really concern you, but he says, greetings to you, Shaman of the Mighty Dong. I have a few quick questions that I've been meaning to, since October. I recently started up a creepypasta channel on YouTube and want to write one dedicated to your website featuring Jeff and Jason. Before I go through with it, I would like to know, should I still use Jason as the co-star, even though he has stepped back from the site? I kind of think that's up to the writer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could set this in the far-flung year of 2013, right?
Yeah.
Like at a different time. Have you ever heard of the old SNES game Super Smash TV?
Yes.
If you're talking about the port of the arcade classic Smash TV, yes. He says, I wanted to feature that as the haunted game, but if you're familiar with it, I can choose something else. Oh, okay, so I'm totally familiar with that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately...
It's basically Running Man, the video game.
This is from Dan, and unfortunately, Dan, you're going to have a hard time. If you want to find a game that I'm not familiar with, I'm going to tell you this right now. Lesser-known N64 games, kind of anything on the Dreamcast are going to be the best places for you to look. Or the original Xbox. Those are consoles that I never really got into. Pretty much all the other consoles, TurboGrafx 16, I never had a Jaguar, I never had a Neo Geo, but who the hell did outside of rich asshole kids? But I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all you rich asshole kids who listen to us. I don't mean to disparage your Neo Geos.
I had a friend that had a Neo Geo.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I always wanted one, but they were fucking god-awful expensive. But yes, I'm familiar with a lot of the library. I mean, if you want to send me like the admin account, normally don't send me stuff to the admin account. But if you want to send me stuff to the admin account, like a list of games, tell me which of these don't you know about, totally do that. Also, there's some old 486, like if it's a pre-Pentium 1 game, some of those might work. And last but not least, do I have your permission to do this? I would be using the site's name and your likeness when writing and narrating, but I want to make sure I have the blessing from you and Doncles. I'm going to say maybe just send a brother your draft for it, and then I'll look at it and go, I mean, if your creepypasta story involves me having sex with a lot of farm animals, maybe I'd like a little bit of editorial.
He's saying you have a chance of getting it by him. He's saying maybe you might get to do it.
Everybody's watching Black Mirror right now, but maybe send me your script and let me just look over it and go, no, So anyway, you don't have to answer this on the air, but hopefully I do hear from you. I've already outlined the story. I'm looking forward to having the finished content uploaded soon. May the blessings of the dong fill every pore and orifice of your body. Ugh, damn.
Too late. It's answered on air.
That's right. So there you go. That's the answers to your questions. This next one comes in from our friend Kiros. Kiros says, with films and video games continuing to evolve in their narratives, we are allotted more meaningfully crafted stories and characters. As people connect and become invested in these characters, whether the pre-programmed character of your standard film/game or in the case of RPGs, one the player crafts themselves. I don't quite understand that sentence.
Player-created characters versus characters that were already built and decided for you by the developers.
Okay, he's saying, as people connect and become invested in these characters... Okay, this is a sentence fragment, but whatever. He's basically saying that you've got characters in video games, right? Often I hear the comments from others stating, it's not real, it's just a game/movie, whenever others speak about how they feel particularly touched by a scene/character in the medium. Do you feel that being invested in a game or movie is worth it, or should we do as these people say and just remind ourselves that it is, after all, an artificial story and doesn't really impact us to any real extent? Humbly, Kiros. says, given that Steam and Good Old Games take 30% cut from the sales revenue, why do you think we don't see more companies delving into creating their own online distributor or instead pushing for better deals with these companies? The answer to that question is because those motherfuckers got a lock on that shit, right?
Yeah, they do.
Good Old Games, I mean, you can go over to Good Old Games, and I think you get a little bit. I think that they take a little bit less. But in all honesty, I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. There's so many fucking games coming out that it's like, if a game comes out and it's not on Steam and it's not heavily publicized elsewhere, I'm probably not going to know about it just because how the hell do you know? Like, where do you find that information, right? Because, I mean, sites like Joystick or Polygon or Kotaku or places like that, they'll put whatever. They'll put every single Kickstarter campaign up and write a blurb about it for traffic. So, anyway, to your question, what do you think, John?
Well, I mean, I look at it kind of like not just, I mean, movies and video games obviously they're both visual mediums. Video games being a more interactive version of those mediums. I put them on the same level as books and comic books and novels and written prose and all of that stuff. You're gonna feel attachment to those characters because it's something. You know, as long as you're not believing the people are real or anything like that, and be like, these are real people that really existed in some form, then I don't think it's wrong to have an attachment to those characters or a scene that's like specifically moving and moved you in a way that provided some type of an emotional response. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not. If somebody is saying this to you, Kiros, they're a goddamn idiot. And if you need proof, I know a lot of people, some people like South Park, some people don't like South Park, but at the end of the Imagination Land trilogy, you remember that, right?
Yes, I do.
Kyle, I believe, or it might be Stan. I think it's Kyle, whoever it is that's out trying to get them not to destroy Imagination Land. He gives this speech about how, for most people, Luke Skywalker, Superman, and Harry Potter have had more of an influence in your life than most real-world people because their stories are the stories that stick with you in your formative years. I mean, hell, fables are these are cautionary tales that were used as learning tools. I mean, any fictional character that you're going to see out there. I mean, the thing is that if you were to limit yourself to only having some kind of emotional investment to a real person in this world, your spectrum of emotional resonance would be incredibly stunted, right? Like, if you just were like, well, so he's his father or whatever. His people aren't real. It's just a guy in a Halloween costume. Like, it's. I think it would be odd. I think it's odd I think the inverse of this question is odd. I think it would be odd for you not to have any kind of emotional investment in fictional characters from a story. And
also on top of that, I mean, this is something fictional characters are something that have existed throughout history.
Yeah.
Like it's not something new that's just started with movies and in video games. Again, Beowulf, the oldest recorded story in literature, and I could be quoting that wrong, but
You heard it, folks. The oldest recorded story ever.
Well, it's
John Sitton.
Yeah, it's like whatever it's considered the basis that all other hero stories are based on.
Sure.
And it's about a guy fighting monsters.
Well, go back and look at just. So I think that part of this is if you go back and you look at the way that the oral histories evolved into epic poems over time, where the way to keep people listening to history and make them remember it was to embellish the deeds of the people that you're describing.
Correct.
These are people that the people that are listening to the story have never met before, have never heard before, but these stories influence them because they give them a wider perspective on the world through the storyteller's imagination, or even if it's just embellishing what people actually did. I mean, yeah, I think that it's ridiculous to say that, let's say, it's not real, you shouldn't care about that at all. Go fuck yourself, whoever said that. I don't know, Kiros. If it was your mom or something, I'm sorry. But
don't run into the room and say, "Mom, Rage Select said to go fuck yourself."
Hey, you guys heard that? John Sitton told that mom to go fuck herself.
I said, don't say that. Don't go do that. If it was your mom.
But yeah, I think that it's ridiculous to expect people not to be emotionally invested. Now, on the other hand, I will just say that I know some people who, in some cases, can become overly emotionally invested in fiction to the point where it blots out reality. And I think that that's actually that's a thing that I think about quite a bit of time, about how when we see movies that are not necessarily based on Master Chief, like most of them are, especially movies about like I talked about this once, I think, on a streaming or on one of our podcast questions. Like people who get fucked up because they see a lot of movies about romance that Hollywood has written that do not take into account the things that happen in the actual world when it comes to people having a relationship. And so they expect the romance in their own life to look like it does on the movie screen because they have taken so much from the characters that they love in those movies that when their real life doesn't equate to those stories, they get bummed out or dissatisfied or depressed or whatnot.
Yeah.
So I think that there is a caution to be had. It's like there's nothing wrong with having an emotional investment with a story as long as you still know that it's a story. And that, you know, that what makes for a good story is not necessarily the same as what is real in real life, and to make sure that you're discerning between the two of those. Anyway, that's what I got to say. Next up, we've got a question from Ashanti79.
Ooh, and I actually got included in the greeting.
Good evening, Jeff and John. For those of you who don't know, I mean, I put whoever's with me on the front of that.
Yeah.
With all the issues surrounding the behavior, attitudes, and blatant misogyny sometimes expressed in the online gaming community, how do you think these issues would be affected if anonymity was removed from the internet and everyone had to face the same sort of consequences for their shitty opinions and behavior as they have to do in real life? Furthermore, how much of this is symptomatic of the gaming industry and its patrons and not the general public? I'm going to skip that subsection. I personally think that most of these people are simply hiding behind their aliases, and the vast majority of them would be too embarrassed to behave in the same manner if they knew their female friends / coworkers or family were privy to their online opinions. Just my thoughts. Rage on. Keep it classy. Ashanti79, a.k.a. Lumumba. So, what do you think, John?
This is the age-old, basically, internet anonymity. I mean, it's the whole, what is it, the John Gabriel's theory of internet anonymity?
Greater internet, the theory of greater internet fuckwads or something like that.
Internet fuckwad theory or whatever, which is, you know, anonymity plus platform to speak equals fucktard.
Yep.
You know, it's been there since the internet's earliest days.
So the thing that starts to worry me is we had that conversation. I mean, I've had that conversation a while back, but the reason that I brought this up is because I see a more disturbing trend of websites that let you use your personal Facebook profile, and people still say abundantly shitty things with their personal first and last name and a picture of what they look like on Facebook, right? Yeah. Especially when it comes to politics boards or some of the, you know, misogyny stuff that she's talking about. And, you know, we had a lot of people last week who were upset that we talked about the latest Nina Sarkeesian video. I honestly think that there is a value intrinsic. I've said this before, and it's a very weird sentiment, right? To the ability of the person that you're talking to reach out and punch you in the fucking face if you get really shitty with them.
Yeah.
That is part of the basis for a lot of manners that we have. Like if you're talking with a person that you've never met before, right? This person has an opinion and you've decided to inject yourself into their conversation, right? And you're doing it face to face. There is always the 1% chance that you're talking to a crazy person who's going to stab you later in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And so maybe you want to keep it civil when you're talking to that person. Like I've worked retail in person, I've worked technical support on the phone, and I've worked on the internet. And that's a spectrum in between. People are much more polite when they're face-to-face. It takes a lot more to get people upset with you. Now, you work a job where you're talking to the phone to people.
I get people who say things to me that I know for a fact they would never say if they were to see me in person.
Sure.
And on the converse thing, I've also talked to people that would make threats that we thought would be harmless and showed up at the office to carry on with those threats and had the cops called on them.
Yep.
So and I guess that's the other side of the argument is that while yes, there are people that will say things that they would never say in front of you in person.
Right.
There is also that probably a very small percentage of people who would totally do what they're saying that they're going to do in front of your face. And there are people that I've met that would that say things. It's like, oh, well, this is the guy that that you're talking shit about is right there standing next to you. Oh yeah, well, fuck you and blah blah, and right in your face and say all those things to you.
Sure.
And conversely, there are people like, oh, I didn't realize you were there. I'm really sorry. You're blah blah blah. I take back everything I said because I didn't mean to.
Oh, I tell you what, I've been doing this. I've been doing this job for like 3 years now.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. I've met a bunch of our fans in person back in the old days when we had the cons, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes at RTX and sometimes at meetups or whatever. I've met a lot of people. Nobody has ever been as vitriolic to me to my face in person as they have been either on the website or on YouTube or in comments on the internet.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the closest I ever got was two guys who walked up to me at in Rogues Gallery Comics and Games in Round Rock, Texas, and said, which when Jason was on the show, I feel like every time I mentioned it, I have to say the whole thing.
That's the joke.
Right. Who were like, Jeff. And I was like, yes. And they were like, why did you give The Last of Us only 4.5 instead of 5 stars? And I was like, all right.
I explained that in the review, but
let me just tell you the exact same thing I said in the review, and then you can say, well, I disagree. And I could be like, that's fair. I'm glad that you enjoyed it more than I did. I wish I enjoyed it as much as you did. And I did enjoy it, but just not 5 stars worth. But yeah, I honestly feel that a lot of that stuff. I also feel there's a good. I don't know this. I can't say this for sure, John. But some days I want to get the math out, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to add up everybody who's ever said something racist or shitty or fucked up or terrible or whatever on social media. And then I want to divide that number by the number of human beings who have an account to get on the internet, so you can see what percentage of people who say shitty things to you are actually what percentage of all the people who have the ability to say shitty things are actually saying shitty things.
Yeah.
Because I did this experiment one time with the comments on my website, right?
Yeah.
Or on the website. I actually did this over on Spill back in the old days, where I used to get bummed out by bad comments. So, what I would do is I would count up the number of hits that our video got and watches, right? And then I would divide that by the number of people who went into the comment section to say bad things about whatever. And what I tended to find was that percentage is like 0.02%, or at best, like at a bad day when people are really pissed off, 1% of the people who click that video. Most people just watch the video and it's fine. And I feel like most people just play video games and it's fine.
Yeah.
And then you've got people who will take a picture of their dick and send it to anybody with a lady voice on Xbox Live. And those people are the 1% jerk-offs.
Or play Uno and have their Xbox Live camera on their junk while they're playing Uno.
Well, that's just funny there. I mean,
I remember that back in the day when Uno first launched with the camera, and that was a brand new thing.
Or the Playroom when the PS4 launched.
Oh, God.
Just straight up people doing it.
Yep.
Anyway, I honestly feel a lot of times like I have friends that have to keep reminding me because I spend all my time online that that if you just stop looking at Facebook or playing on Xbox Live and go outside, that everything's not on fire, and the moment that you step out of your house, somebody doesn't run up to you and start screaming in your face about whatever they've got a problem with today. So keep that in mind. Answer the question though. Do we actually answer this question? I think that I think that not being able to have anonymity would cut down on the amount of hostility that people had. I don't think it would eliminate it.
No,
entirely.
it would, and that was kind of my point. Is it wouldn't eliminate it because there are people that what they say on the internet is totally what they would say to your face, regardless of whether or not they're using their real name.
Absolutely. All right, our next question comes in from Alan Subasic, who says, "What up, y'all? Respect to the Dog Lord and whatnot. Question: how much would you say you value competitive longevity or depth when reviewing a fighting game or any esport game for that matter? You guys have Street Fighter Cross Tekken. A good review, but that game fizzled out and contained glaring issues with its mechanics, only perceptible by fighting game enthusiasts. Wouldn't your review be misleading in a sense if there are advanced considerations out of your expertise, or do you simply review games based on their fun factor? Thank you for answering my question, and may the dong be whatever, Alan." So I feel like Alan's actually asking us 2 questions here, John.
Yeah.
The first being, how much would you say you value competitive longevity or depth when reviewing a game?
And then also how much you suck at reviewing games?
Yes, that's the second question. In answer to the first question, you review games as well, so
I have reviewed games.
On this. I feel like the answer to that first question is that it's without coming back to a game and doing constant updates to your review, it would be impossible to judge, right? Because when the game first comes out, you're playing it, everybody's playing it, right?
Yeah.
6 months down the road, it could be a total wasteland and nobody's playing it anymore. So the question, I guess, at that point would be, do you go back and then update your opinion about it based on how much longevity it has? And I don't know if that's really feasible. I mean, that requires going back to finished games and continuing to re-review them.
Yeah,
from time to time.
There has to be a point where you say, no, the review's occurred, the review happened.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go back and change my score. Now, if I were to review it again in the future for whatever reason, because they re-released it or something like that, sure, I'll review that and I'll change my review accordingly. I
mean, but like there's some games out there that we've reviewed in the past that are multiplayer centric, right?
Yeah,
like this was back on Spill, right? But Brink,
yeah.
I bet nobody plays Brink anymore.
Oh no,
if the servers are even up. And if you don't connect it to the internet, you're not playing with other people, you're playing against brain dead bots in Brink. It's a wholly multiplayer experience. So does that mean that anybody who gave Brink anything but a 0 should go back and update that review? Because at this point, it's not worth buying, right?
Yeah. I got a better example for you.
Go
the
ahead.
Microsoft Xbox 360 Shadowrun game.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because those servers are definitely not online anymore.
Yep. So that's just a question of... I understand what you're saying there, Alan, but it's the sort of thing that requires, when you're initially, this isn't the second question, but the first question, when you're initially reviewing a game, there is no way for you to project the sort of longevity that community is going to have. Like, I'm sure that there are plenty of games out there that are weird niche games that are still running multiplayer servers, especially PC games where they can like hack in multiplayer servers or whatever, that you couldn't tell when you first saw them whether there was going to be a long-term home for them or not. As far as the second goes, you can literally make this argument about pretty much everything that we've ever reviewed in the history of both Rage Select, Spill.com, and for pretty much any reviewer. I mean, by this rationale, I am not qualified to review any game. I was going to say it,
but I wasn't going to say it or anything like that.
I was going to say that I might be qualified to review Dark Souls, but I don't necessarily like playing adversarial Dark Souls, so I'm not hardcore into that side of the game. I don't have a full and complete notion of the game to review it. I would say Metal Gear, right? But I don't ever play Metal Gear on the super hardest video game or the super hardest gameplay setting.
Okay, I didn't know that. You need to give me your gamer card.
Is that it?
You're done.
No, Jason took it. He holds my gamer card all times.
Well, never mind then.
It's like my wallet. I give it to him. No. So the thing is that I understand what he's getting at because Alan and I's initial interaction was him telling me that we needed to start bringing more specialists on when we did our reviews because our reviews weren't touching enough on very specialized amounts of information. And I've considered that notion from time to time. I've had people who have. Well, you know what, John? I've been talking for a while. What do you feel? You know, let me. I'll finish, and then you can say. Logistically speaking, it's very difficult to find. Because you're going to need like one person, right?
Yeah.
For every single game type. You're going to need an RTS guy. You're going to need an FPS guy. You're going to need a multiplayer guy. You're going to need an RPG person. You're going to need, or not guys, but just person. You RPG person. You need a, fighting game person. You need a racing game person. You need an esports specific person. You need, you're talking about a good probably dozen people at the minimum that you need. And then you got to make sure that they all have the right sort of schedule, the right sort of equipment, the right sort of thing. You got to vet them. You got to make sure they're going to interact well with you on the show. And at the end of the day, I don't know that it's really going to make much of a difference to the review. Or I guess you would just be, at that point, why would I be reviewing a game if I was bringing in somebody who was super specialized? Why even bother at that point? Like, just let the person who's into Halo like crazy balls and has read all the books and plays Halo online, has never missed a Halo game, let them review Halo, because if that's the criteria that you're going on for the quality of a review, then, like I said, I'm not qualified to review anything ever.
And I'm going to say I actually appreciate when you have two differing experiences with a game. Like, in other words, like I like when you have the person who is crazy all about that game genre. We'll use his example, fighting games.
Right.
You have that person who is knowledgeable, who may even go to Evo every year or something.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not saying you have to get that person, but someone who's knowledgeable, who knows the mechanics, who will play them inside and out,
sure.
and has a knowledge of whether can play a game and go, this game isn't going to go anywhere, this game is going to fall flat, or this game is totally going to become a thing because it's got so much depth in it that it's just there's no way that it'll not be popular.
Right.
And then you need the person who's doesn't play that all that much, because if you want a balanced review, you need those two elements, and you're not going to get that in one person, obviously. Because you need the person who's going to be able to go, I like this game because it's exactly what I expect out of a fighting game and some.
Right.
Or you need someone who's like, I don't really play fighting games, but you know what? I had a lot of fun with this.
Yep.
Because here's the other side of that, is that if you're trying to sell it to a new person, because that's really what reviews are there. They're not here to sell it to the person who is in-depth, hardcore fan of a franchise or of a style, though it does help. They're also there to sell to the person who maybe has never played that franchise before or style.
What I find interesting is that I don't even think that's what reviews are for anymore.
They're kind of not anymore, but
I think that reviews are basically to either reinforce the love or hate that you have for the game that you already bought, because
and that's what they are now,
right?
And what I'm speaking is more of what they should be, or what they should have, or what they were intended to be originally. It's there to go, okay, I've never played this game franchise or this style of game. Would I like it as someone who's never played it before?
Sure.
Read a review. Okay, that sounds like fun. Let me go. I'll go play it.
Yep.
That's the idea, the general idea of what a review is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not what reviews are anymore. Not for games, not for movies, not for books, not for music, not for anything.
Yeah.
Reviews are there to go, I really like this thing. I want to be justified in liking it. Okay, everyone else likes it. Good, I'm justified.
Yep.
Or everyone hates it, but I like it. Well, fuck you. My only opinion's right.
Yeah.
That's I hate this. Does everyone else hate it? Good.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, to be honest, reviews on Rage Select right now, maybe at some point this will change, but I can't keep up. I just don't have enough time anymore, and that sucks because I do this job because I like playing video games.
Yeah.
And at this point, at least in this particular season, during the summer, a few places I kind of had enough time, but even if a company was to send me a game 2 weeks ahead of time, or if they were sending me a game 2 weeks ahead of time, I probably could beat it by the time it came out and have it all ready for review. But the other problem is that the hoops that you have to go through to get a game ahead of time, not really worth it. Our review generally comes out a week or two, or sometimes months after the game has come out. They're not really useful to anybody. In all honesty, I put them out because people ask me to.
Yeah.
They want to hear, and the people that are asking me about it, they tend to be what you're talking about. They just mostly want to hear me talk about, or any of us, right? Just talk about the game a little bit in a more formal review type of atmosphere. Yeah. I don't think anybody's waiting for my opinion to go buy Dragon Age Inquisition, right?
Yeah.
And that's good, because my review for Dragon Age Inquisition might not come out until January. I don't know. But in all honesty, I understand Alan has been kind of pushing this idea for a long time, and I understand that what he wants us to do is to bring other people on the show. He wants us to bring specialists in from the outside, and what I'm saying is that I understand why he wants that to happen. It's probably not going to happen, at least anytime soon. Or if it does happen, it's probably going to be people that I can find locally here that can sit across the couch from me.
Yeah, and that you know and that you can have a good conversation with.
Right. Because there's just, like, the idea of scheduling somebody and getting them to a point where they have the right equipment and they have the time and they have a stable bandwidth connection so they're able to call in. The quality is going to be of good stuff. And then you get to the point where you're going to do the review and you just go, well, this just isn't going to work. Like, I don't know you well enough, or we don't jibe well enough for me to be able to even have a back and forth with you on Skype. Like, it when we were doing Skype on the loading bar, it took us 3 or 4 months to get to the point where we had our back and forth down, and it was because we also had a bunch of, like, professional people who have been podcasting for a long time, and then me. But So there's that aspect to it too. So for right now, it's like what's your. I understand what you're asking, and I understand why you're asking. But what it looks like in my mind is a huge amount of work for potentially almost no benefit, because the reviews are also, we don't make any money off of them. It doesn't really, our site traffic is not high enough to legitimize getting copies, advanced copies from most manufacturers, and the reviews make us no money. So there you go. Anyway, next question. Let's see. We're going to do, I think we're going to do, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and chop this question, and I'm going to go ahead and choppity chop chop. These last three are going to go by pretty quick, so we've got one more kind of meaty one, and then three. All right,
let's do it.
Ones.
Let's do it. I'm for it.
Dear Jeff and John, this one comes in from Jamie. Dear Jeff and John, this is my first time to email you guys, and I had a rather personal question to ask you guys. It's about how to deal with my friends. I have had the same group of friends for over 4 years, and over that time, I've been noticing their less than desirable qualities. Talking down to each other when someone says something they don't agree with, being pedantic and petulant about all things going their way, and taking out their frustrations on each other. This has been done to me a few times, and I've never spoken out to them about it. Though they do have their better days, I really feel like cutting myself off from them and getting it over with. But when I see you guys on the podcast, you all seem to have a great rapport with each other despite your differing views. So what do you guys think? Should I settle with what I have or try to find a new set of friends? Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Jamie. John, do you have experience with this particular problem?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Probably not to that extent. Now, I will say that I don't see why you couldn't continue being with friends and just also find a separate group of friends.
Boom! Problem solved. John, master problems.
And just get a separate group of friends that, sometime you hang out with these groups, sometime you hang out with this other. And if you happen to find a group that you enjoy hanging out with more, hang out with that other group a little bit less.
Yep.
And if they're really your friends, they'll basically be like, hey, man, why are you hanging out with us so much less lately? We like hanging out with you.
Yep.
If they're not, you won't hear from them.
I feel like I'm watching a radio drama of the last few years of my life.
Yeah, it's as you were reading that, I was like, "Did you write this?
I did not. I did not.
Did I write this in my sleep? Am I Jamie?
Is that your Tyler Durden? Is you're up there writing? Why? And if I did write this in my sleep, why am I emailing Jeff about it? Fuck, man.
Yeah, no, it's like it's someone we know write this.
Yeah,
no, and also I have friends who actually don't. That's one of my annoying qualities is that I'm very much if I don't. If a group of friends is starting to get on my nerves or is starting to become like maybe I shouldn't be hanging out with these people, I'll start cutting back my effort to hang out with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll hang out with other friends that I do want to hang out with more often. Now, and it gets to a point where if I don't ever get that friend or that group of friends going, hey man, we haven't hung out in a while, why don't we go do something?
Yeah.
If I get that call, then I'm like, okay, then they still want to be friends. I'll totally go hang out with them and make the effort. But if it's one of those things where if I never hear back from them and I just slowly completely lose touch with that person, then I'm okay with it because that means that they didn't value my friendship at all.
Yep. That's happened to me several times. And
maybe that's cold.
Friends,
I don't know.
Friends can drift. I have a few. Okay, so my experience with this falls into a couple different categories. Is I have, let's see what the best way to put this is. So there's a question about when your friends ask you, "Hey, why are you hanging out with us so much less?" About whether you. There's a question about whether you attempt to tell your friends about these qualities that you see in them in an effort to try to help them to be better people. In my experience, as I'm pretty sure I state all the time on the show, I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
And I don't also think it's fair a lot of times to people, especially if you've known them and you've been hanging out with them, to suddenly just one day be like, hey, you know what? You guys need to be nicer. And they'll be like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, you guys are dicks. You need to be nicer. That's probably not going to go over very well.
Yeah.
What I've got right now is a situation where some of my friends have drifted away, and some of them, it's fine because I won't see them for a year, and then I'll run into them someplace, or I'll go to a party with them on Facebook or something. So it's like, great. So we're going to catch up. What's happened?
And it's like you never stopped hanging out.
Good to go, right?
Yeah.
Where they don't, and they've got their own lives, and they understand that like you're doing your own thing. It's fine. We drift apart. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Some of my friends have taken this the wrong way, and they're kind of upset about it, and blah blah blah. But in all honesty, I over the course of my life, think that you cannot value good quality friends enough. That if you are an outgoing person and your friend group is acting shitty to you, go make some new friends, man. Because, good friends are good to have, and bad friends are not. I mean, you don't want to spend all your time like putting effort into hanging out with people who are shitty.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit I have a friend that I told that was like that. I felt something happened that I'm not going to go into, and after that event happened, he was just like, "Hey, man, I'd still like to hang out after all that." And I was like, "You're kind of a shitbag, dude."
Yeah.
No offense, like I don't have any stake in what happened, but I know the facts, and kind of a shitbag.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we can, continue being friends after this, kind of thing. And it wasn't anything he did towards me or anything like that. It was just kind of like, well, I don't know if I even like being around you because of it.
Yep.
And sometimes that you have to do that. If that's a situation that is occurring, sometimes you have to exercise the bad stuff out. But at the same time, if it's a situation where it's just like, well, there's some things I don't agree with, but I really like hanging out with them, when it's, when we're having fun and doing cool stuff, that's the stuff I want to keep doing. But I kind of want to maybe look for other friends as well. Then do it.
Do both.
Do both.
Yep.
More friends. You can have more than just maybe 4 or 5 friends.
You can?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
No.
you can.
Yeah,
I mean, according to Facebook, I have hundreds of friends.
According to my Rage Select Facebook page, I've got 2,000 friends.
You son of a bitch.
I don't know any of them. No, I know some of them. No, I know all of them. No, I know most of them. Yeah, so Jamie, just go, tell you what, pull back a little bit from that group and go find some new people to hang out with. There's plenty of cool people in the world.
Yeah.
All right, let's get some quick questions here, John. Ready?
All right.
I'm going to summarize this. Hey, Jeff and John. This comes in from Evan. Where the fuck is The Last Guardian? And then I'm going to cut off everything else that he said. Sorry. P.S. You guys should absolutely play Colossus HD for Sequential Saturday. Plenty of opportunity for dick jokes throughout, and it looks artsy to boot. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals, Evan. Great question. I'm going to tell you guys right now, that any of you out there who are still holding out for The Last Guardian, it's better just to let go.
We heard about the rumor that came out within the last couple of days, right?
Nope.
Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
Apparently, someone who was working on it says they're retooling it.
Yeah.
And the way they worded it, apparently everyone's thinking, oh, they're retooling it for the PlayStation 4.
Yep. I don't believe it.
Yeah. I don't believe it until they actually make an announcement.
Yeah. At this point, it's if you're still excited about The Last Guardian, buddy, that's on you. I'm sorry, but this is turning into a Duke Nukem Forever thing, and it's better that you just write that shit the fuck off, and then when it comes out, you go, oh crap, it finally came out, because then you don't have 6 years worth of expectations for how good Last Guardian is going to be.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for The Agency to come out.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know.
Have fun with that one.
Sure. Yep. It's very small. It's a tiny little ember of hope in my brain. It sounds great. Games that people don't know about that you like. There's a this is a stretch. There's a game that came out on the PC where you have to basically incite a revolution to overthrow the government by. It's a strategy game. You've got to throw protests and then do anti-police subversive.
No idea what you're talking about.
Oh man, it's got a very Russian aesthetic to it. You're trying to destabilize the government so you could take over. Very odd game.
I was about to be State of Emergency for the GameCube?
No, it's a very slow game where you walk around the street. I don't remember.
You're causing riots in a mall?
No.
That's not it. That's not it, but yeah.
Blech. State of Emergency. Blech. Blech, blech. All right. 2 more. Here we go. Boom. This is from Sir Brinklehoff, Esquire. Praise be to holiness Pope Jeff and his disciples. Skeet be up on them. Skilo be up on them?
Skeet.
That's right. I've noticed that people seem to act harder on buggy games when it is that of a franchise with frequent releases, such as Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty. Meanwhile, a game like, say, Skyrim has a very bug-ridden release, but isn't treated as harshly. The same can also be said in graphics quality. Is this because even if, say, Assassin's Creed Unity was released relatively bug-free, it would still just be another Assassin's Creed game? Are people jaded by these franchises without even realizing it? Thank you, and stay classy, Sir Brinklehoff, Esquire. I I have to take issue with the fact that Skyrim comes out and nobody has anything to say about the bugs. Obviously, you don't hang around with people who own PlayStation 3s because I couldn't get my friends to shut the fuck up about the bugs in Skyrim.
Yeah. I would say the reason you're hearing more about Assassin's Creed Unity as opposed to, say, Skyrim is because Assassin's Creed Unity's bugs happened across all platforms, whereas Skyrim mostly happened on one, maybe a few other platforms as well.
Plus, the thing about Assassin's Creed that I feel is that we've seen well-polished Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
You know what? No Assassin's Creed game except for Unity has had the kind of bugs that Unity has.
I agree completely.
And like in an open world game like Skyrim, I have to generally afford a few bugs because you know that you've got crazy systems. Sometimes you're going to run into something that's just fucked up, right?
Yeah.
But with a game like Assassin's Creed, there's no reason, especially considering the track record of the Assassin's Creed franchise, to consider the amount of bugs in Unity acceptable. Because they're just not.
Yeah.
They're just not.
I agree.
I'm trying to think of other I mean Call of Duty, I don't remember there being a lot of bugs like I'm trying to think. I mean, for the most part these days, there'll be some games that have bugginess as far as some games have bugginess, like some RPGs have buggy systems that can be exploited or things like Skyrim still does, right? Where you can make those potions and then eventually it breaks the number and then you can craft a dagger that does 1 billion points of damage. But I still feel like people are pretty quick to call out when a game has that much of a buggy release.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think people are being harder on Assassin's Creed Unity. I don't think that the bugs that you're talking about, like even the PS3 bugs in Skyrim, that was a thing that happened as time went on and your save file got bigger and bigger. Yeah. It wasn't like giants were constantly falling through the map and dying. Or you were constantly falling through the map and dying.
Or skin was missing.
Or skin was missing.
And all you could see is their eyes, their hair, and their teeth.
Yep. I mean, I saw plenty of bugs in Assassin's Creed Unity just playing it, like a level of which would be considered unacceptable in any video game.
Yeah.
And a level of which I have not seen in a video game in quite a while.
Yeah, I can't remember the last. That's the reason people talk about Assassin's Creed Unity as much as they do, is because I don't think I can think of the last time a game was riddled with that many bugs.
I also had several Assassin's Creed Unity just crashes. The strip game totally crashed and shut down. So I honestly don't think that it's that Assassin's Creed Unity is getting more hate than it deserves. It just has more bugs than we're generally used to. All right, one more question, and this one comes in from Martin. Martin says, "Dear Jeff, a.k.a. Man of Steel with a beard weaved from the dreams of man's romance." Okay. And John, did you cry when you saw Grave of Fireflies? I asked this since you previously said you were an anime guy, and also because you previously stated your anger and hatred for the first 5 minutes of Up. If you haven't seen it, then was there ever a film that made you break down and shed tears of the hopes and cries of the soul? I don't know if that's a Denmark expression. Keep it classy and scowl. Martin from Denmark. Have you seen Grave of the Fireflies, John?
I have not.
Okay. I have seen Grave of the Fireflies. Do you know what Grave of the Fireflies is about?
Oh, I know exactly what it's about.
Yeah, it's about a brother and his little sister in war-torn Japan basically dying slowly for like 90 minutes.
There's a reason why I haven't seen it.
Yes.
It's not to say it's not good. I heard it's excellent. But
Oh, it is. It's completely excellent. I will watch it never again in my entire life. I have a little sister. And this movie turned me into a gut-wrenching. It's just misery after misery after misery, and then it's over, and you're just like, oh, God, okay, fine. Yes, there's a lot of misery. Yes, I did see it. Yes, I did cry. Yes, I'm not a robot. I don't care who has told you about the robots. Yeah. Was there ever a film that made you break down and shed tears, hopes and cries of the soul? Absolutely. All the time. Totally sad movies. I cry every stupid fucking goddamn time that Morgan Freeman meets up with Tim Robbins at the end of Shawshank Redemption.
I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
I teared up during Big Hero 6.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's the most recent one I can think of.
Oh, I think we had this question on with Grant and I was saying before that there's that part at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy that involves a giant ball.
The actual opening of Guardians of the Galaxy had me in tears.
Yeah,
that's a very personal thing because I had a mother who died of cancer.
Yeah.
So that hit me in a way I was not expecting before the movie even actually started.
Yep. I think so. My problem with Up has more to do with the fact that Disney used all their nefarious magic to create the world's saddest scenario.
Yes.
And then just kept twisting the fucking knife in there, and I was never able to disengage from it. It's pretty like Guardians, when you talk about that, did it right, because that beginning part was incredibly sad, right?
Yeah.
And then then they get up to the planet, and you've got all this sci-fi stuff, right? It's not just the old man eating by himself at the beginning of Up. And then they have that the song, the intro song that they have with the giant thing, and all the funny stuff of him singing into the, it just instantly flips the tone hard enough to get you out of that from the beginning, right? So yes, I cry all the time. I cry at whenever things are sad in movies.
You heard it here, everybody.
Yeah.
Jeff cries all the time.
Jeff is a giant vagina.
That's the biggest secret we've had on Rage Select. Is that whenever we turn off the videos, whenever we stop recording, Jeff is always like, "I'll be right back. I gotta cry a little bit."
I don't ever cry. I don't know why you'd say that, John. All right, folks, that's the end of our show. If you didn't get your question answered this week, maybe send it in next week. mail@rageselect.com is the email address. We'll be here all night. Tip your waitresses, and see you later.
Bum 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 bum. Ba 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 ba.